Welcome everyone. Today is fucking day I don't know how of the quarantine all over the world. Since I'm a South American boy. Here we have other three people that are from America and they are also quarantined. And we that means that we have time to binge music and to make podcasts because hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Um so today we're gonna tackle one of the I wouldn't say longest, but I would say longest, like a contemporary longest. But also one of the most cryptic discographies from one a band that has become like a big name all over the world. Nine Inch Nails. Uh, and today, I'm the host, the idiot who likes prog. We have Gabe here, who's gonna join us.
Hello.
We have Sweat, who has come after a long time to a proper
Hi.
podcast, and Soup, who's here to just participate on the podcast. Introduce yourself, Soup. Who are you?
Oh, what do I say?
Yeah, exactly. That's a. Now we're gonna tackle the
Okay.
discography, but I mean we're gonna tackle everything as always by chronologically by release, starting with introduction of the band. So Nine Inch Nails. Nine Inch Nails is a band from Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken, from the
Yes,
United
Cleveland, Ohio.
States.
Band
Yeah,
quotation
band,
marks.
because
Yeah,
the
that
the
band.
headmaster of everything is the wonderful and also cutie pie Trent Reznor, that is the
I
vocalist and
agree.
multi instrumentalist. And also, can we describe Atticus Ross as like a vital part of the
I feel
band?
like we would have
In the
to
later, in
we
the
have
later
to do
stages,
that
yes.
later once it becomes
Yeah,
relevant. I
Yeah,
feel.
like around the Ghosts era, I think we
yeah.
can start.
Well, he started with working with them during With Teeth. So once we
Okay.
get to that, we
Uh,
can introduce him.
Then
to
yeah, with
be
teeth.
clear, we're not gonna discuss the Trent Reznor's solo discography. That means the Social Network soundtrack, or the what else has he done? The Girl with the
Girl
Dragon
with Dragon
Tattoo
Tattoo gone.
soundtrack. We're not gonna.
Before the Flood is really
Yeah,
Very boss. He did the music
before the
for
flood
Boss.
is really nice. And we're also not gonna tackle the How to Destroy Angels project. Um,
Mhm.
but we're gonna focus on the main discography and main EPs, main remixes, and one bootleg on this time from Nine Inch Nails, starting with their debut album in October 2089 from 89 1989.
It
Yeah,
is 89. Yes.
the wonderful that I need to re-listen to, Pretty Hate Machine. Pretty Hate Machine is, to me, when I look back at it, because I've been re-listening to like separate songs individually, I think that it presents one of the most unique sounds from an industrial band up to that point. To be honest, um, songs like Head Like a
Uh,
Hole, Terrible Lie, Sanctified, and Ring Finger are a sign that this is a new band that needs to develop their sound, but they still have like some fundamental ideas there. To be honest, Pretty Hate Machine for many is their favorite Nine Inch Nails album. I honestly can't see why, because what they have done after this point is far more developed. However, considering that it's a debut album at the time that it came out, I think that it's a really good fucking thing, because Reznor started showing his fucking skills in everything. He was the vocalist, the editor, the songwriter, the arranger, the programmer, the performer. Like, he was everything on this album, with help from other people. So what I have to say is that this is not a bad album. This is a good album. However, it feels like it could offer more. To be honest, like some songs here are among the best of their entire discography for me. However, uh, I think that all the ideas that are not developed here would be developed in their, even in the following EP. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys think about Pretty Hate Machine?
Do we have
Yeah,
an
starting
order?
from Gabe to Sweat. Oh, the other is Gabe, Soup, and Sweat. Okay, so Gabe, what are your thoughts on Pretty Hate Machine?
All right, so just gotta say right off the bat, Pretty Hate Machine is one of my favorite albums of all time, and I mean that as in not one of the albums where I'm like, okay, yeah, it's great. I mean, like all time favorites. This is
Oh,
high
I
up there
didn't
for
know
me.
that actually.
I've seen that. I've seen that Pretty Hate Machine is a polarizing album. I've seen some people not like it. I've seen people really like it, and I've also seen people think it's kind of in the
Yeah.
middle. This is probably because it's the biggest, at least in terms of their early discography, it's their biggest standout album. It's a lot more synth driven. The Depeche Mode influence that Nine Inch Nails was definitely pulling from early on, I think, is very apparent here. A lot of the '80s new wave influence in general. I just know Depeche Mode's a big one.
To be honest,
Trent Reznor.
I've heard people describe, and I describe, "Terrible Lie" as a Depeche Mode song on drugs, basically.
That's honestly not too far
Yeah.
off.
But yeah,
This album is, in my opinion, this is going to come up a lot. I should probably preface this by saying that Nine Inch Nails is one of my favorite, like, top 5 bands of all time. They did so much for me when I first got into music, and they were one of the first bands I really latched onto outside of my rather typical classic rock phase, the age of 12. They were one of the first bands that I really got into, and as a rather confused teenager, they definitely soundtracked a good portion of those early sort of years listening to music. So I must say that Pretty Hate Machine is, besides one other album of theirs, my favorite. For a long time, it was my favorite, and it constantly flips back and forth. I think every song on here, just about, is perfect. I know that's probably a big shock, but I really do think so. This is an album that I could put on and never get tired of,
everyone
because
has headbanged on the room alone to Head Like a Hole at least once, and you cannot.
if you haven't,
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
real. This is an album that it's a bit corny, it's a bit dated, but I really appreciate what is behind all of it. And I think that in terms of Trent Reznor's discography, it's a very necessary standout, and it's a bit of a unique album, I would say. I feel like, as Cringe said, it's there are ideas on here that we fleshed out in the future and relatively new releases at the time, like the next EP that would come out. But otherwise, I think it's just, for what it is, I think it offers the best that it can. And the songs that I particularly love off this album are Something I Can Never Have, of course, the centerpiece of the album, the really sad piano song. Kinda I Want To, which actually, when I was in a Nine Inch Nails Discord server, everyone hated that
Why?
song, and I was so mad at them. I don't know. They hated that, and they also hated That's What I Get.
To be
I don't know
honest,
why.
I think that more than the ideas that wouldn't be developed on the Nine Inch Nails discography, I think that Trent Reznor picked them up for his solo work, because you can see a lot of like synth aspects and ambient aspects of some of the tracks on his soundtracks,
Yeah.
honestly. But I think
I agree.
I honestly take this more as a Trent Reznor featuring a band, like more than anything else, because to be honest, the what people call Nine Inch Nails starts after this, and a lot of people seem to think that. However, I think that by itself, this album is really good. It has some standout tracks. It has an honestly pretty decent, for the time, I mean, like an experimental mixing and producing. I don't know if you get me. Like, some of the tracks feel so balanced in that sense, more than any other like debut from the era or industrial band from the era.
I can kind of
Yeah.
see that from what I've heard out of what you're describing. Yeah, I can kind of hear that. There's definitely a lot more space
Yeah.
here.
If we're talking about
Yes,
like
is what you're
the remaster, I'd agree, but I think the original album has a little bit of a dated
Yeah.
sound to it, just because it was made on such
But if
kind of lackluster equipment. But
but that's the thing. I mean,
it really doesn't matter.
for what
at
it
the end of the
is,
day
for what it
when
is, it
comes-
feels like it did the best it could. To be honest, for what it was at the time. However, now of course it has aged kind of poorly. Some of the songs feel not not nice.
It's
Yeah.
definitely dated. It's definitely dated. Like, yeah,
It's dated in an admirable
Yeah.
way, though. It's like, wow, there was some great music from this period.
Back
of
in
time.
my day, we used to
Basically,
head back.
exactly.
But yeah. So now,
basically.
finish your.
I was just gonna. Oh, yeah, I was gonna wrap up just because basically, Pretty Hate Machine is one of my favorite albums ever. I love just about literally every song on it, and yeah, I think it's I don't think it's over. I don't know what the word is. I don't know if it's really over because it's not hated. I shouldn't say it's hated.
Over
It's just,
underappreciated or underappreciated too.
I guess.
People overlook
Yeah.
it a lot
Yeah,
because
there we go.
of
That's
its simplicity compared to the rest of the catalog.
Yeah,
think it's
I think that it's a unique effort, at least early on, and it's one of Trent Reznor's shining achievements for me.
I mean, I can see that as a Trent Reznor effort. Yeah. So, Soup, what do you think of Pretty Hate Machine?
I mean, I kind of agree with everything he said. Like, especially kind of it being dated, but like personally, like that just kind of adds to like the album for me. You know, it's very much kind of unlike the rest of the discography. It's like very much in its own lane. At least when it comes to like the Nine Inch Nails material, you know. Yeah, I'm not like as familiar with this album as like the rest of the discography, but yeah, there's some great tracks here. Like again, Terrible Lie is something I can never have, and just like classic, like classic tracks and like live sets and all this. You know? It's good.
Hmm.
I'm done talking.
What do you think, Sweat? What are your opinions on the album?
I think that it is a fantastic synth pop album. Because that's true. I don't get the industrial angle so much on this project. Like, he was coming from playing with mostly synth pop and those type of acts related bands coming to this album, and he never programmed before, which is really strange considering how good it sounds. But yeah, I feel like every song, I feel like the worst part of the album is the lyrics, which you can kind of say for the first two major projects. Like this and Broken, I think have a similar issue where it's like the lyrics are quite cheesy. Like,
yeah,
that's what I get is one of my favorite songs from this band ever, but the lyrics are just dumb.
I know, but I love those.
I mean,
love how dumb those
I mean,
are.
this is the thing.
Just dumb.
They're dull in a way that they stay in my mind for the most part. Like
They do, but like I'm just acknowledging that like he was a very young man in the 80s, and that shows very evidently on the album.
I mean, if you analyze the lyrics on Head Like a Hole, they're not the most intelligent or aggressive that you can imagine.
No,
it doesn't.
not really.
Okay, but the thing is that they're like what I love about what I think made this band so special is their combination of pop like tropes and elements with experimental genres. And I think that's the most evident on this project because like you get like some like hardcore hip hop kind of on Down in It, which is like something you wouldn't ever think you would be hearing, even though it's just like a Skinny Puppy song. But like it's still like he knew of Skinny Puppy and turned a Skinny Puppy song into a hit, which is just like what makes them have such a lasting impact is that they're combinations of basically all different types of music with like pop tropes, and I feel like this is just the start of that, and it's like the most pop album out of all of the projects he's ever made. And I think that makes it special in a way. Even if it's not one of my favorites, I still think it's great, and I do listen to it very often.
I there are some songs that I have a special. I don't know if it's kind of a playlist in I add all the songs to an album with a specific cover that I customize without like the loose songs. And the three songs from this album that are there are, as I said, Head Like a Hole, Terrible Lie, and Sanctified, because to me, they're like I see the industrial side. I mean, it's much more electro kind of synth pop than an industrial album. But
Right.
they're
The way Ring Finger ends is pretty
Yeah.
hardcore quotation marks for like you can see it start to show in that
But-
song. Like if you listen in
but
order,
even
it makes
like
sense.
Head Like a Hole has some industrial aspects to it. Some of them, it's more like a, especially in the chorus, it's more like a synth pop electro album with industrial aspects to it.
Yeah,
I feel like it's really funny that we went from Throbbing Gristle to this, but you know, they're both great in their own way.
I mean,
I think if
Throbbing Gristle, they were kind of really big on the fucking drugs, especially with their solo discography. But yeah,
Well, here's the thing is, just to clarify that Trent was mostly influenced by Coil more than Throbbing
more than
Gristle,
anything.
but still.
Especially, I could honestly, recently I've been starting to see more relationship between music to play in the dark in a lot of Nine Inch Nails albums, like the influence of those two in a way, like especially
When was those released?
not on the early stuff, like music to play in the dark is from 99 and 2000, and you can
Okay, that
see
makes
that
sense.
aspect in the later discography from Nine Inch Nails, honestly.
But I feel like
It's
even
good-
like one of the albums, like Horse Rotor
Rotor
I
Vader.
can't pronounce it, but that album,
Horse
like
Rotor Vader, yeah.
in the drum production,
Yeah,
like you can definitely hear. I don't like
If-
that album too
if
much,
I had-
but like
if I
you
had to
can
pick
totally see where.
if I had to pick a Coil album that influenced Nine Inch Nails in a way, it would be Scatology, especially for its production and the way that the album has more of an industrial feel than the later Coil albums. But yeah, I mean, in a way, even if they have influences from a lot of places, they would start to make their own sound. And so before we move on to explain that own sound, do you guys have any like a last sentence you want to say about about this album, basically?
Pretty
Yeah,
Hate
about
Machine.
Pretty Hate Machine.
I
It's
would
good.
like to
Listen to it if you
say
haven't.
that Purest Feeling is a really good kind of like preamp to this album.
Mm.
Yes.
And like shows it's like more synth pop and like shows it's a lot more amateur, but like it's cool to hear, and I can tell why it wasn't officially released. But there's like one track on there that's just like straight pop, and it's beautiful. It's called Maybe Just Once,
Yes, maybe
Hear that
just
song?
once.
which is just like it's just like a straight up synth pop song, and it's so great because like you can hear him going full pop, which he would never do again.
Doesn't
Oh,
he
oh,
use
oh,
horns
oh,
on one of the
here-
songs?
here,
Is that maybe just
Yeah, basically. Oh, here one of
Yeah, but,
the
like-
there's one person here that is muted but is listening to us, called Mr. Gary. That
He's
said,
deafened
yeah,
right now.
he's deafened, but he said that wasn't Trent influenced by Suicide as well? Yes, he was. He was influenced by the first Suicide album as well. Especially, I can see that with the minimal synth aspects of it.
It's
Hell
better.
yeah.
That's true. Yeah, what I'm saying is like all these eclectic influences combined with like Depeche Mode and pop music and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like specifically Black Celebration era Depeche Mode.
Yeah, exactly. And like some great reward, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I have to say.
And The Cure. He was influenced by The
But
Cure.
not so much by The Cure. I mean, in a way,
In the way he wrote pop songs, like you can tell by like Cure's songs will often like repeat a groove and like add certain things on, and he would definitely take influence from that.
yeah.
He actually said himself that The Hat on the Door was a big influence. for him.
I mean, I can see that in the production side, to be honest, on the later albums, especially the Downward Spiral. I think that the Downward Spiral, I always said this, it reminded me a lot of the production on the later on the like the golden years of the Cure discography, like Pornography, Head on the Door. I can see that in a way. But yeah, I mean, there's not much like an evident Cure influence to be seen or heard on the albums.
I
However,
guess.
now that we are moving on to their later album that was released, it was actually a big span of time. It's an EP. But the EP was released in 1992. That's all I know. It's one of my favorite EPs from the 90s. Hell yeah. Broken. Broken.
It's quite the
It's quite the transition, honestly. Like they abandoned all the fucking synth pop elements, and they said, "Fuck it, we're gonna go full industrial on this EP." In a way, they're brutal. Like Wish, the start of Wish is just one of the most iconic starts from any industrial song for me. Like the transition. Yeah, the transition between Pinion and Wish, it's so fucking brutal.
Oh my god.
Hell
yes.
yeah. And their songs, like they had like nice songs on the previous, like on Pretty Hate Machine. Now they have titles like Happiness in Slavery, Suck, Gave Up, Help Me, I'm in Hell. It's just the change in mood and the change in overall like genre, like the full on stretch of the industrial aspects is really fucking like, to me this is the first like big release from the band, because it blew up. Especially I think it's one of the highest rated.
Yeah, didn't he win a Grammy? He won a Grammy, right?
Yeah, he won a Grammy for
Yeah.
Wish.
That's
Was it Happiness and
absurd.
Slavery or was it Wish? I don't know.
No,
It's one
I
of
think
the
it was
songs.
the Wish music video.
Yeah, I think it was
Okay.
the Wish must be like Trent Reznor started having like being recognized for a fucking EP, and people were starting to get hyped because the change in that span of time from Pretty Hate Machine to this, it was real. And especially since like you guys know that Edenson gave up, and then if you have the CD, you know that it jumps from track 7 to track 97, and it's
97.
just so fucking brutal. It's a surprise. When I was 10, I had a bootleg CD on me. And that fucking jump was so fucking. Suck is one of my favorite Nine Inch Nails songs. I can say that. It's so good.
Suck is okay, but do you know it's a cover? Do you know the original
No,
song?
I don't know the original.
Isn't it by a?
It is okay. So what Trent Reznor did is he featured on the debut Pigface album, and the
Oh,
most
that's right.
notable song from that album, Gub, was the song "Suck," and it was like just drums and vocals because Pigface and like guitar towards the end, but it was like Pigface were a very percussive based band. They're an industrial supergroup. They had everybody from like Skinny Puppy, they had Ogre from Skinny Puppy, they had Genesis, rest in peace. They had they had basically
they
everybody. I
had
think
Chris
they had
Corneli, right?
Albini?
They had Steve Albini on
They
bass.
had
like-
I think they
Wow.
had Mike Dillon on drums.
They had multiple.
Yeah.
It was amazing. They had like a bunch of touring from all of these different.
Also,
groups, and
Danny
then-
Carey
and,
was part of this. Danny Carey was part of this.
Well, during this era
Oh.
I'm talking about, but like yeah, because each album has like a different lineup, but like he took that version of Suck and he made it like far more produced and like explosive on the Broken EP to like fit with it. So it's like far more of a song on that version, but it's still basically a Nine Inch Nails song because he sings.
That's interesting. I didn't know it was a cover, but I actually was planning to check out Pigface's discography, because we were talking on the Tool podcast that Danny had participated in a shit ton of projects by his own, and one of them was the industrial supergroup that you mentioned, by the way.
Wait, was he? What? I didn't know if he was in them. I thought he just wore the shirt and was a fan. Maybe I don't know.
Apparently he wasn't. Like
There's so many
he
fucking
is
people in that
credited.
band, it
He
doesn't
is
really
credited in one
I
album.
wouldn't be surprised
Yeah.
if he wasn't it. Yeah. Because I mean, they already Tool already kind of had like an industrial inspiration. Like they were inspired by the industrial era of Swans. So like that doesn't surprise me if they're industrial fans.
But yeah,
Like and they
I mean,
play in an industrial group at least.
Broken overall, it's one of
he was a
one of
member.
the craziest EPs. Like, I'm not talking about albums, but one of the craziest EPs on the 90s, because this fucking thing exploded everywhere. And the cover portrays it, like the cover, as simplistic as it is, I love it, to be honest. It is it's
Me
weird
too.
to say this, but it is my favorite Nine Inch Nails cover album. Like the cover, the N with the fucking fire on the back. It's something.
And you get the CD and it opens up in
Yeah.
the NIN. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love it because it's so simplistic in design, but it's so memorable at the same time. But yeah,
I wouldn't call it one of their best covers. I think it's an iconic
yeah,
cover.
but
I don't think it's. I think when you compare like a lot of the brilliant like pieces of like of Downward Spiral
yeah,
and
I mean,
Hesitation,
to
which are made by the
me,
same
this
guy,
is
I
this
don't
is actually
think it's-
tied between. My favorite cover is tied between Broken and the Fragile because the booklet on the Fragile, I love it. I love the fucking packaging on the Fragile. But yeah,
Fred
yeah.
Jones.
I mean, what do you think of it, Gabe? What do you think of Broken?
As predictable as I possibly could be, Broken is possibly my favorite EP of all time. This EP is, before I listened to noise music, I would have pretty much equated this to being the musical equivalent of chewing concrete because, oh my god, it is brutal to the last second. Pinion is one of the most fitting openers I've ever heard on any album,
Hell
EP, whatever. It's such a lead-in for what's about to hit you. And not to mention, I'm just going to say this now. Hopefully this doesn't throw off my discussion here, but I would just like to say that Pinion's video that they use in the Broken movie and they came out on its own is disturbing as
It's not even the most disturbing.
It's not the most disturbing out of all of them,
thing.
but it's disturbing if it's one of the few you see outside of the Broken
It's the
movie.
one on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's so weird because it's got like this there's like a gimp that's strapped or like something. It's like some person that's doing BDSM is strapped to these pipes, and it's a toilet that flushes and the water goes in
Yeah.
their mouth. And
I mean,
yeah.
I don't.
It's one of the
If I
grimiest videos
remember
that you'll find from that show on
correctly,
YouTube.
it's not even a bondage suit. It's like black tape all over the suit, like mimicking.
No, it's a bondage suit.
I need to rewatch the Broken movie. I watched it a long time ago, but I
watched it a few days ago again.
adore the fucking happiness. The
It's
happiness,
horror
the
porn.
It is,
yeah,
it really is.
the happiness in slavery part is so fucking. I don't know, like it's not even well shot, but at the same time, it's so appealing. At the same time, I like it a lot. I don't know. It's just I need to rewatch it.
I actually watched the Broken movie shortly after I listened to the EP, and I'm just gonna say it right now. I'm a sensitive guy. I stayed out of the way of like gore videos online and all this other stuff.
Wait, did you not know what it was going into
No,
it?
I knew what it was. I knew what it was. But I figured I
Okay.
would just watch it anyway because I knew it wouldn't be real. But oh my god, it's so. I shouldn't say it's realistic, but it's so graphic
Yeah,
in what it does that
For-
honestly I'm not.
I feel like for the guy who made That's What I Get, and like he releases this, I think it was directed by a member of Coil as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it was
forget-
directed by Peter Christopherson.
Yeah. And like if you go back to Coil's music videos, it's a very similar fucked up world that it portrays.
Yes, and I think the reason why the Broken movie was so disturbing to me is that it's shot in this found footage snuff film style for most of it. Besides the music videos, they're all shot in this in this literal camcorder.
you know,
video style.
you made me.
And nobody knows what the actors are. It's there's this whole mystery behind it that honestly, if nobody knew that it was for a Nine Inch
Yeah,
Nails thing, they
you
would
mid
think
me-
it's just some crazed fan. which I think
Yeah,
people
actually, they
did think
thought
back in the
actually there
day.
was a lot of complaints
They
of
thought it
this.
was a-
Yeah,
Yeah, they thought it
It
was.
was
like a
Down in
crazy
it, I
fan.
think, that was found.
Yeah, Down in It was found in it. The camera from the end of the Down in It video ended up in a field in like Michigan, I think. And the farmer who found it contacted the FBI. He thought Trent Reznor laying on the ground at the end of the video was a dead body. So Trent Reznor had to go to court and prove that he was alive or something. It was
actually,
insane.
you wanna know what's my favorite thing of this movie? The review by Soup. I remember
Huh?
going back to it. I don't know when it was. I think I rated it early, like later in 2019, and I went there and I saw fucking Soup, no fucking Sweat there. The review by Sweat. I mean, that said, I watched this movie. I watched this movie. And 5 stars, and I just adore.
Yeah, I made a bunch of fake reviews.
I mean, for being
Movies.
that short, for being so short,
I hate
because it's so short. Yeah, we were complaining on the last podcast about radio music a lot, but but yeah, I mean, it's short, it's to the point, and the music goes well with it, to be honest. And as I said, the transition between Pinion to
Yeah.
Wish, it's so fucking mind blowing.
Yes.
I adore.
It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Also,
Not to throw off my
no, go
discuss-
ahead,
sorry.
go ahead.
I didn't mean to throw off my discussion of the Broken movie. It's just, I think that definitely plays into. We should definitely talk about it once we've all got our opinions of Broken out a little bit more in depth. But I personally think, again, every song here is incredible. The sequencing on this EP is out of this world. I think that if there's anything besides maybe the Downward Spiral and I'll get to the Fragile. I think this is probably one of the best examples of sequencing in the Nine Inch Nails discography, and possibly one of my favorite sequenced projects ever. I actually, funny story about this. I didn't listen to this EP for a long time after like 2018. I listened to it, the songs. I listened to it in full. I listened to it on repeat like 5 times in a row as I was beating Max Payne for the first time. And for some reason, it was like the most fitting.
Because Max Payne
experience
goes well with these kinds of experiences, honestly. Like especially the part where he's remembering his wife and shit, like in the first Max Payne. Yeah. That kind of shit, it goes well with this. But yeah,
Yeah, I was like playing the last half of the game.
Oh,
listening to this EP on repeat.
I had a similar experience with Max Payne, actually listening to the Fragile, and I got to the
Oh my
part
God.
where he's remembering his dead wife, in a way, in the corridor, and I was listening to the first side, to the left, and it starts right there when the sequence starts, and I was fucking blown away because it went so well. But yeah,
Oh my
but yeah, I
God.
mean, Broken, it's alright, to be honest. For being an EP, it's alright. But yeah, Soup, what do you
Yeah.
think of Broken? I saw you rated it on your favorite EPs top tier list. So tell us about it.
Yeah, I came back to this like just this morning. For some reason, I had it at a 6. I don't know, but yeah, I bumped it up to an 8. It's just really well, like super consistent. Like really great tracks like Suck and Wit, and Pinion is just like kind of like knowing how this would lead into like the straight industrial era and like lead into like the Downward Spiral. Like Pinion is such a great like opener. It's just like it's kind of like throwing you into this sound. It's really awesome. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
All right.
But I mean, that transition, I honestly think I can use. It's one of my favorite openers. But at the same time, I don't take it as much as an opener, more than as an experience. I know that's a gay thing to say, but
No,
but
I
yeah.
kinda get it.
I mean, now Sweat, what is your take on Broken?
I think Broken, if you take it as the first 6 tracks, is stellar. Through and through, perfect songs. And again, I will emphasize that these are still pop songs at the basic level.
Yeah, especially Wish. Like,
Like-
this is the first day of my
You
life.
have the chorus
Yeah.
structure, and like these are still like you can like, even if it's an incredible jump, like you can tell why this harsh music was accessible. Like
I mean, fucking Wish.
it's presented in such a way where the guitar melodies are catchy, even if they're harsh. The beats hit hard and are punchy. The vocals, the melodies are great and catchy as well. The lyrics are still kind of sucky, but it doesn't even matter. You're just screaming them so fucking angrily.
But man,
It's
I
just-
mean, fucking Wish appeared on Guitar Hero, so of course it's accessible. Of course people like it. I mean,
Yeah.
that was a surprise to me when I was. I mean, I think it was Warriors of Rock, the one that was for the Wii also. But yeah, I mean, I was. This kind of music, I mean, Nine Inch Nails is famous for a reason. It's because despite being an industrial band, it has so many like pop culture songs up to this point that is admirable for me. But yeah,
Yeah. And I'd also like to set up like the history behind this album kind of influences the sound. Like if you want, like it seems like going from studio discography, it seems like what the fuck is this? But like if you like watch live videos from like Pretty Hate Machine era, you can they're like insane.
yeah. Oh yeah.
If anyone's
Like,
seen like
it's
a lot of
like-
Yeah.
performances,
Oh no.
Yeah, that,
I mean,
that kind of
Trent
stuff-
Reznor was shirtless in the dark, glowing lights. He was a screaming head like a hole. It's totally different from the album. Yeah.
It's like,
At the same time, being the same song, but it's a different feel in a way. Hell yeah! Like they're
and also to also set it up is like the record label that he was not very happy with the label, which is one of the reasons that the Broken movie and the album itself are as fucked as it is. It's like he was intentionally trying to piss off his label and make the harshest thing he could, and I think he did it very well. Up until the last two tracks just don't fit on the album. But if you on the record that I own, it's just one side and it's just the first 6 songs, which is fine. I can listen to that. And then like if I want to hear the 2 covers, I'll listen to them on my own time. Basically.
I mean, physical
But,
you are
like-
so and stuck. It's true that they feel away from the first 6 songs. However, there is a gap between the 2 of them. So I kind of feel it.
Oh yeah, it was the
Yeah.
coolest shit on the
I
CD.
kind of feel
But,
like that justifies the their separate experiences in a way. Like they're bonus tracks, not part of the album, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, but like just thinking about the first 6 tracks, I'd say my favorite moment from the entire album, not just the amazing intro, but like the one part of Happiness and Slavery where like it goes into the that like specific beat thing, and then it's like that's the harshest they ever went with like all of these layers of shit on top of each other colliding. It's like so much fucking garbage is happening at the same time. You like, can't wrap your head around it, but then there's like throbbing beat that just keeps you locked in. It's amazing. It's one of the most harrowing moments of their entire career,
Yeah.
I'd say. And also the ambient, not ambient, but like the non-songs, the interludes on here are like really like creative and like they fit a lot. Like Help Me I'm in Hell is like has like that 30 seconds of silence, and then Happiness and Slavery comes in and it's like the fucking jump scare or something.
Yeah, exactly. It jump
Yeah.
scares you.
And it's just like it's like you have genuine fear listening to at least I heard this album for the first time because it's like, what the fuck was that? It's I feel like I'm gushing, but like yeah, it's a great EP.
Yeah, it is a
I'd
great EP. I mean, I think we've said everything that can be said about this, to be honest. Or most of the things that can be said. So yeah, it's a great EP. It's a landmark on their discography because it's a shift from their kind of synth pop driven era with industrial elements to their now accessible industrial, to put it in a way. But yeah, I mean, after this, I think a little bit after, like, I'm not sure if it's a month or maybe some months of difference between this and the next EP.
It's like 2
Yeah.
months.
It was like-
Broken
like
came out
2.5
in
months.
September and Fixed was December.
They would
December
release
7th,
the remix album for Broken on 92 as well, called Fixed. And I don't like this. I like the Wish remix. It's 9 minutes. I like it a lot. And Screaming Slave is weird, but I mean, it's just I think it could have been something else. But
First off, I feel like titling the most experimental thing and harsh thing they would ever release as Fixed is really, really funny. That's what I'm gonna have to say. In terms of the album itself, oh wait, I'm
no, don't worry,
Never
worry.
mind, you
No,
guys-
that's a podcast. That's a
background,
fucking
go ahead.
podcast. Go ahead, talk.
Okay. In terms of like I'd agree that the Wish remix is definitely the best song here. And you know who it was remixed by? It was remixed
By the third wheel.
by
Yeah.
Fetus.
Yeah.
JG Thurwell, yep.
Yeah, and he that's really cool that he's on a Nine Inch Nails. He remixed multiple songs. There's some Coil people on this album.
Mhm.
There's Butch Vig. It's insane. It's insane the fucking variety that like people will call Nine Inch Nails sellouts.
Nah.
And to be fair, that they were combining all these pop elements with the industrial stuff, but like I feel like if you go to the remix albums, especially this and Further Down the Spiral, the credits list is just like they clearly weren't like abandoning the spirit
Not
of this
really.
genre,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
It's like it's definitely an influence, and it's like he's not full of shit. Like he knows what he's doing with all this industrial stuff.
If I'm
Which
not
is really
mistaken, the other song that was remixed by Third Wheel was Fist Fuck, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, he did do Fist
Yeah.
Fuck, so he was a big fan of Wish because that's the one he remixed
Yeah.
twice. Yeah, so there's that. I don't think the album is that interesting aside from
Wish, to be honest, yeah.
Wish, Throw This Away, and Screaming Slave. I think the rest of the album is kind of throwaway.
It's also
unless you're like really into Coil, because it's
it's very Coil like.
very
Yeah,
much
yeah. But to be honest, my main problem with this album is that it stretches itself for far too long. Like most of the songs.
I agree with that.
I like the Wish
That is
remix.
fair.
It feels justified in a way. However, the other songs, except maybe Screaming Slave, because if I can't think of any way to like cut the song. I think it's good as it is, but at the same time, I wish it was shorter in a way. I don't know how to express it, but yeah, I mean the rest of the songs. Fist Fuck is 7 minutes long, and it doesn't offer much besides from some interesting soundscapes. However, I think that it could have that there could have been a lot more to be like. There is potential on this thing, and you can see that from the fucking Wish remix. However, I think this is something that people can just forget and skip. To be honest, to me, it feels like that. People love it. I know people that love the shit out of this. However, I think that with only the Wish remix and maybe Screaming Slave, you're fine, and then you can just throw everything away.
I hear it if
No
you're
pun intended.
really, like if you're like a Coil completionist, but if you are a Coil
Yeah.
completionist, then you already know
Yeah.
this. So
So, Gabe, what do you think of Fixed?
at the end of the day, I don't think it's too much of a throwaway. I think it's an important album, but mostly for what it represents.
To be honest, yeah. I mean, this would start the trend of remixing their projects. To be honest, but yeah,
Well, not really. There was remixes of Pretty Hate
Yeah.
Machine too.
Yeah, they had like a whole single and Sin was
Yeah, but
Sin
this-
remixes, right?
this
Sin
one,
was
this one,
remixed. Down in
this
It
was one.
remixed.
This
They
was
had,
like
like,
the official, like, how do I say it? That is not just a single, like the official album. Yeah,
official like album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of course bands do that. Bands release remixes of their songs by certain MF Doom does it all the fucking time. But yeah, I mean they would start. I don't know up to what point. I think with most of their projects to release it and then a remix album. Yeah.
Yeah, at least until like
Yeah.
with
No,
THC
Year Zero.
no,
Year Zero. Yeah.
Year Zero had remixes.
But yeah, I mean, Gabe, what do you think of Fixed?
So I actually listened to Fix for the first time in preparation for this podcast, and while I don't think it's anywhere near Broken's power. You know, I don't think it goes anywhere near that EP, but I do think it's a solid work in terms of a remix album. I'm not too well versed in remix stuff. I mostly just listen to the Nine Inch Nails ones, but I will say this: I'm very disappointed by the lack of the apparent, like, you know, I don't know if anyone said any. I know you guys made comments about the Coil remixes, but my favorite part of this EP is actually the Gave Up remix by Coil.
Oh, damn.
That's a fair pick. I didn't mention
yeah.
that one, but that song is an amazing.
Yeah, the fact that they picked that to introduce the EP, I think, is pretty solid. I definitely think the other ones that I love a lot are the the JG Thirlwell remix of Wish and Screaming Slave, of course. The rest in the middle are definitely a little. I don't know what the word is. I shouldn't say they're unnecessary, but I do.
Meandering? Would you say
yeah, that works. Meandering is definitely. I think that they kind of go on a little bit too long, and that they don't really have a place here. If this were to maybe be more of a single kind of thing than really an EP like this, because I think I'm not really a fan of this one, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, if you got two songs that are remixed by Fetus, you're gonna put them. You're gonna release them. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Okay, yeah, good point.
And also, it's keep in mind that, not to be demeaning here, but keep in mind that it is a remix album, which means that they still gave far more of a shit about the remix albums than pretty much everybody who does make remix albums.
That's a fair point. I know I shouldn't say it because I don't think these songs are bad. I just think that they go on a bit too long.
I wasn't saying that these songs were bad. I just said that it felt unjustified the way that they extend themselves. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of agree with that then. Yeah, but I think like Gave Up and Screaming Slave and the Wish remix, I think those are all relatively solid, and I would actually say that they're essential remixes you should be listening to. And if you're gonna compile like a Nine Inch Nails remix, like mixtape or something like that, just as like a taste, like a what do you call that? I literally use this as a term for a bunch of playlists.
A playlist. That's what.
Yeah, like a playlist. But yeah, it's okay. Yeah, like a
compilation.
Yeah, there we go. If you're gonna make a compilation of Nine Inch Nails remixes, I think they should belong there. Those three especially. That's all I really gotta say though. I think it's a decent EP. It's solid. But it doesn't touch Broken in any way.
Yeah, I mean, compared to the thing that they're remixing, like I've heard, I'm not a big fan of remixes. There are some remix albums that I prefer more than the originals. However, no Nine Inch Nails remix is an exception. I mean, I think all of them are dumbed down or just failed attempt at making the songs better in a way. But yeah, Soup, what do you think of Fixed?
I did not listen.
Okay.
That's okay. It's not really.
Can you just explain?
Explain it. Go ahead, my boy.
Because like okay, so like it was yesterday night. I thought like I was like hella prepared for this. I thought we were doing the Godspeed.
Oh no, that's gonna be next week, my boy.
Oh
no. So I had to fucking listen to half of the discography, like 12 hours.
Oh no.
That's amazing. I don't know. That's actually not amazing. That's probably a sucky experience.
No, shut up. Just.
I mean, if you're taking a lot of it in at once, I see what he means. If you're taking a lot of it in at once, it can be very numbing. Because I listened to almost nothing but Nine Inch Nails for like 3 days in a row, and I was just so sick of it, I had to listen to something else.
That was me for like a whole summer.
I liked it.
Oh my
God. It was like, okay, I'll shut up.
Don't shut up. It's just we're gonna discuss the Godspeed podcast next week. Because I need to tackle, at least with a bunch of you, Lift Your Fists and FA Infinity. Hell yeah. But yeah, I mean, after this, any last words for Fixed? I think it's just I
think we spent too much time on Fixed.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
I thought we were gonna just pass from it. We're actually 50 minutes in. That's surprising. Damn.
We lost so much time on Fixed because I just kept stuttering because my stutter's awful tonight.
Oh damn.
It's okay.
I would take a picture of my because I have the Nine Inch Nails Broken, and the Fragile, but they're behind all the other CDs. But yeah, so after this, they would release what to me is their first masterpiece. To be honest, it's not my favorite Nine Inch Nails album. It's my second favorite Nine Inch Nails album, and I think for everyone, I think when you ask someone what is your favorite Nine Inch Nails, they're probably gonna say the Downward Spiral, released in 1994. in
Oh, yeah,
March
baby.
8th. Why do I know this date? Because I know all the albums that came around my birthday for some reason because I think it's fun. Uh, but
I do that too. It's okay. I do that
but
too.
also Opiate came out the day of my birthday on, and so the Downward Spiral. This
Fucking terrible
it
album.
fucking
Holy
sucks.
shit. So bad.
It sucks, dude. Oh my god.
The
It's
flow,
one of the worst sounds I've ever
like,
heard in
it's
my life.
long. It's like fucking fixed, but fucking instead of being the songs are too short. The songs
sold
they
out.
sold
They
out.
sold out.
They sold out. I mean, have you seen the video for Closer? What the fuck does that mean? What the fuck does
So bad. Oh my god.
I fucking love
Okay.
this album. I fucking love Mr. Self Destruct so much as an opener. I fucking my favorite song on here maybe Reptile. But
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's such a good pick.
also the title track. The title track I adore so much. Like
Oh, yeah.
to me these albums starts in a way that you cannot believe. Then it goes to the middle part that is kind of like a chilling down phase, and then from a warm place to hurt is just a wild ride, and it's literally a downward spiral. So this is a concept album, their first concept album. Very loosely, I would say, yeah, very loosely.
As is every good
Exactly,
concept
like
album.
the Mars
Yes.
Volta, my favorite. But there's a concept, not much of a story going on here, but more of a concept of losing sanity in a way. Even the name of the songs kind of say this loosely, like the flow of the album, despite changing from like aggressive tracks. Like for example, the transition between Heresy and March of the Pigs, like that is what you have to expect for all the album, because that transition from one tone to another is what's gonna bring this album to life, basically, in a way that I haven't seen any other album from anywhere. To be honest, I love this album. To me, this is one of the crowning jewels of the '90s, and I think it's an achievement because people say that at this point was when they were starting to sell out, basically, because they have, yeah, I've met people. I met people that said that from this point they were starting to sell out because there are some accessible songs here like Closer and Hurt.
Pretty Hate Machine came before this.
Yeah. What the heck?
I can't imagine anybody saying that.
I have
I'm not
met
even gonna
people.
lie.
Also, on my days on Mew, I have met people that say this shit.
Okay, well you're on mute, so like I don't feel that's not really some opinions you should be taking for.
It was years
never
ago,
mind.
but yeah.
Okay.
Most recently, a friend of mine said that shit. So
They're not-
honestly,
shouldn't be anymore.
I fucking adore this album. Most importantly, I adore the flow and the tone that it takes. It's starting with something so like the two faces of a coin with Mr. Self Destruct as a fucking explosion on your ears, to Hurt being like an acoustic track. It's an entire trip. And the lyrics on the song is the first project from Nine Inch Nails that I can appreciate for the lyrics also. I adore the lyrics on Closer, on Big Man with a Gun, on Reptile, and on Hurt. Hurt, at this point,
Big Man with a Gun, if you take it by itself, kind of has
Yeah.
stupid lyrics.
It's
By
not-
itself,
I
yeah.
think it's a stupid.
By itself-
lyrics on like.
But like when you hear it in the album, it's
Yeah.
devastating. Somehow, I don't know how it fucking happens because it's such a dumb fucking song.
It really is, and it's such a it. When I first heard like Big Man with a Gun, I was like, "What the fuck is this?" Like this just came out of nowhere.
I remember that due to the Logan movie, the Johnny Cash cover of Hurt, everyone started going like, "Oh my god, I'm a Nine Inch Nails fan, of course I am, fuck yeah." I adore the attention that this album received. Mr. Self-Destruct is so good. I my favorite track, Reptile, is something else to me. It's a track that I can barely explain, to be honest, why I like it so much. I think it's the tone and the flow of the track, like how it starts to how it ends and it transitions to the downward spiral. But yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the crowning achievements of the 90s. To me, it's not one of the best concept albums, but it is a great concept album with a loose concept that is just flowing around, and you can kind of feel it more than understand it in a way. Like there's a feeling that it's going through the entire album, the feeling of uh, self destruction in a way, how one damages itself to become something that they don't want to become. And yeah, I mean, I adore this album, to be honest. Now we're gonna go. Gabe, what do you think of the downward spiral?
Oh boy, here we go. So okay, I promise you, this is the last time I'm going to say
Okay.
this.
Is
This
it?
is one of my favorite albums of all time. Top 15 of all time. This is possibly honestly, if
So you're
I...
implying that Fragile is not one of your favorite albums of all time?
Ah,
We'll get to that. We will get to that.
we're gonna
We will get to
fight.
that.
So friendship ended with Gabe.
Okay, no. Let's
Just
never mind.
because... Okay. We will get there. The Downward Spiral is one of the most important albums to me that I've ever listened to. One of the most important albums to me as a person, to me as a music fan. I always like to say that there are albums I have that like really challenge me mentally, emotionally. Some even challenge me physically because they make me feel ill. Downward Spiral probably did all three of those for me at some point because not to really go on forever with this personal story, but I got into Nine Inch Nails a little bit after I was diagnosed with depression, and I was not really that aware of what the Downward Spiral was actually about. I just knew it was this really acclaimed dark album, and I'm like, I'll listen to it because at this point I just listened to Pretty Hate Machine. I thought it was good, but I'm like, I want to go further into discography. So I heard Broken, and then the next day I listened to Downward Spiral, and that was the first time I think an album ever terrified me. I listened to the title track, and I actually got okay. You gotta remember, I'm sensitive. I was kind of sheltered. When he starts screaming on the title track in the background, those muddied screams, I went cold. I realized from that moment on, this is probably one of my favorite albums ever. And I wasn't sure for a while because it was such a polarizing listen that I didn't feel ready to go back to it. And it kind of just lingered around me for a while. And I listened to songs. Ever since my first listen, I've loved Mr. Self-Destruct. I've loved March of the Pigs. Of course, I loved Closer. I loved Ruiner. But it took me a lot of time to come around on many other songs, like A Warm Place. God, before last year, I was not a fan of that song that much. I thought it was okay, and I thought it had a great place on the album, but it wasn't a song that I loved. It was just a part of the album that I loved. Now it's possibly one of my top 10 Nine Inch Nails tracks because I have a bigger appreciation for more ambient things now. At the time, I really didn't when I first listened to this. You got to remember, this is one of the first albums I listened to when I was getting into music. So I didn't really have a big palette at the time. It was very fresh in many ways. This album has not lost any of its staying power for me. It's still one of the most brutal, challenging, and frankly, dark listens I've ever had. This whole album just really has a vibe of filth. The album cover, I think, is possibly one of the most representative. Thank you. Representative pieces of album artwork I've ever seen. Just the whole thing, even the CD booklet that I have here, where it just has the Nine Inch Nails logo on it. This whole thing, it's so filthy. It's dirty. It's
I love the thing that I have, the edition that I have, is like a the Fury Inoculum packaging. That it opens on a three, like a pamphlet.
Yeah.
I have that version of this album,
Yes.
and it's like the fucking thing on the cover extends over it, like all over the place. I adore that packaging so much. But yeah.
Oh, I don't have that. I just have the regular slipcase.
I found it by casualty, but I still love it. I think it's the
That's crazy.
it's the remaster, to be honest.
It could be. Is it
The
deluxe
remaster from
edition?
2004, I think, the slipcase. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the must be
Yeah.
the deluxe edition. Yep, that's awesome. Yeah, so like one of the okay, so hold on, let me think about this. So the Downward Spiral is again one of the most important albums I've ever listened to, and I actually wrote this in a list I recently put up on RYM. Well, I'll just read off of that. I'll read off of that a little bit. I say, it answered a lot of the feelings that I had tons of questions about. It was an outlet for me. I was scared by the title track, like I said. Hearing his screams really affected me for a long time, and I couldn't listen to it for a good year and a half. Stuff like Mr. Self-Destruct, how manic that was. Just God, that is one. Okay, I mentioned that like Pinion sets up an album well. Mr. Self-Destruct sets up an album way better. I think that in terms of Nine Inch Nails intros, Mr. Self-Destruct might actually be the best.
Yeah, definitely.
The THX sample that the 1138, I think, I don't even know, it doesn't matter. The sample from THX 1138 that he plays at the front of the song, it's this guy getting beaten over and over again. He just loops it, and then it gets faster and faster, and then it just cuts with no bullshit, just cuts straight into the song. And it oh God.
Dim it.
It's so insanely, I don't know what the word is. I don't want to say, I guess I can say it's violent, I guess is how I can say it. It's such a violent intro that really kind of bounces back and forth across the album. There's some moments of some songs that have tranquil moments in it, but then there's really no peak of tranquility at all until A Warm Place, and then it doesn't come back again until Hurt. That's what I think I love about this album so much, is that it's such an emotional roller coaster.
I mean, as I was saying, the moments, for example, the moments that, to put it in a way, that like Heresy and March of the Pig, like one next to the other, is all around the album. Like that flow of one hard track and then one slow track and then one hard track and then one slow track in a way. And though, I think that's exemplified with the way that the album starts with a fucking strong track and it ends with Hurt. Yeah, basically.
Yeah. It's definitely a sequence.
I think that symbolizes kind of like a falling down. Like you fall down brutally and then you stop and try to get up and then you keep falling down aggressively. I interpret it that way. As I said, it's more of a concept in sound and an exploration of the ambient and what the album makes you feel with with everything in general. And yeah, I think this is a really emotionally hitting album, to be honest.
I agree. So basically, just to kind of sum up my thoughts on Downward Spiral, it's one of my favorite albums of all time. Again, I think this is one of the albums I have. Gary likes to make fun of me. I don't even know if he's listening right now. He likes to make fun of me for my RYM tags because I have some goofy tags. I think this is probably an essential album. Not probably. It is an essential album. I think if you consider yourself
essential.
a music fan,
Actually,
actually,
what I was gonna say is that what this album has my favorite video clip, like from the band. Like I love the video clip from Closer. I love it so much.
It's very good. Yeah.
It's honestly, it's kind of goofy in a way, but I like it. The bumping heart.
Just to emphasize, that fucking song.
Yeah,
was
it was
a
a massive hit.
Dude, my sister, who is not a fan of any of this music, repeated Closer for 3 days straight when she heard it on the radio one day because I was in the car.
This album went to the second. It was like number 2. This album. That's what I can't get over.
Yeah, this awful, like this really grimy,
depressing experience. Yeah, not really depressing, but
yes, exactly.
Yeah, in the 90s, you could not you would not have access to listen to like all the other industrial acts. Like this was it when it came out.
I have older friends that lived in the United States, like really fucking old, that have like 52. That said, in the 90s, when they saw me with my Ministry shirt, I was getting bullied at work, and it's like it's that kind of thing. And then Nine Inch Nails comes with his big dick and goes like, "Come on, everyone, it's just this."
Yeah, and it makes everybody love this harsh genre. It's probably also due to Nirvana and the grunge.
Honestly, I think Nirvana has not much to do with this, but I think...
No, I meant just like the ability for music as dark and as heavy as this.
I'd say like in
Yeah.
that heavy sense, it's definitely accessible. One thing I did want to mention actually that I meant to mention all the way back at like Pretty Hate Machine is that Nine Inch Nails I think is so important for industrial music because they were able to take such a esoteric genre in the 1980s and they managed to transform it in a way to take it to mainstream audiences, which I can
Yeah.
definitely admire a lot.
Honestly, I think that this song, this album, even if you take the songs by themselves, there are masterpieces. But as a whole, it creates this entire experience that just drives you from top to bottom to something that you never thought an album could get you at the time. Because after this, and even before this, like as we said, for example, some albums by Throbbing Gristle have fucked me up, and some albums like White House from White House have fucked
Oh,
me
yeah.
up really bad, and they're before this. However,
Shout out to me 8 months ago when I was scared to listen to White House.
until I encouraged him in a way, hell yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think this album is something like, to me, this is a landmark in what music was in the 90s, because as Sweat said, a lot of things have started becoming popular, and it's due to bands like Nirvana and Nine Inch Nails. And for example, Smashing Pumpkins was also starting in that era, and yeah.
I'm pretty sure Ministry, like, also mostly because of Broken though. They had like Psalm 69 was like one of their breakthroughs. I think like the song Just
Yeah.
One Fix was kind of a thing, and Jesus Built My Hot Rod as well. That was kind of also a
Also,
thing.
bands like Butthole Surfers that had hits on the radio started getting noticed because of bands like this. And yeah, I mean, yeah, awesome. And so, what do you think of this album, Soup?
Oh shit! I actually have something to say. Okay, I listened to this album in like I want to say like 2018. So yeah, I was in like I think 8th grade. I listened to it around the same time as my favorite album of all time, Donuts, and I knew the basic parts of this album. You know, I knew it was going to be like kind of this progression into like insanity.
Yeah.
Is like at least that was the perception I got, and I knew it was going to be very heavy. But I was again the opener, Mr. Self-Destruct. You know, with that sample just like speeding up, and this cut, and just like this wave of like drums, and just I knew I was just not ready for this. But and like it was weird because like listening to this whole thing, like my focus was on nothing but this album. You know, usually I can just like kind of like open up another tab and like look at whatever, but I was just like trapped in this world that the album created, and it is a very disturbing listen. I think the reason for that is because like I think I want to like I think the biggest part, like biggest contributor, is the lyrics, because you know, as mechanical as like the sound is, as the wording is, like it feels human. There's like feels like you know there's like a human there, and it's just like slowly being just kind of like ripped away. You know, that humanity is just like gone by the title track, and yeah, that was like just kind of a really disturbing concept to me back then. But now I can come back to it. I've seen like a lot much worse shit than this, and I really appreciate it much more now. It's just such a wild listen. It's still very disturbing, but it's just really
Yeah.
it's kind of beyond words.
Yeah,
honestly.
I
Wow,
didn't
this
say a lot
album-
of things because I can't put onto words what this album. It's basically an experience, to put it in a way.
Too.
It's an experience to go.
Yeah, it's so like put to like so like connected.
Yeah.
In a way, like very few albums I've listened to are. You know,
I think that's like an achievement from 9 Inch Nails, in a way. But yeah, Sweat, what do you think of the Downward Spiral?
I'm gonna, I can't tell you that. I think okay. Without like, we're already there. We're already at the level of massive pretension. But I'm just gonna say that Downward Spiral is the ideal like album in every sense of the word. This is what an album should be. Just like it's basically an updated version of like when people talk about classic rock and like those kind of albums like the Pink Floyds
Pink
and the
Floyds.
stuff like that. Yeah, you
Yeah.
know what I mean. It reminds me very much like the way those classic 70s albums were structured, like a Ziggy Stardust or a Wall or something like that. And like how each song, it's like a conceptual whole, how each song will go in another in a theme and like a sound that's like necessary. Like, and coming off of two releases, like Broken and Pretty Hate Machine are just like they're just like a collection of songs pretty much. Like Broken is more cohesive, but it's not really, they're not like more so statements. They're like amazing albums that like you can listen to all the time.
But yeah, I take the Downward Spiral as a statement also, because it's a statement on how Reznor feels about art in a way, about what the music world is, you know, in a wide sense, in a kind of cryptic way. But yeah, I get what you mean. Continue. Sorry for interrupting.
And yeah, I just say again with the pop song thing, I just want to hammer this detail in again. These are still like pop songs, and they're structured with hooks and all that stuff in mind. Like even a song like March of the Pigs, like it has that weird time signature. It's like extremely hooky. Like Trent fits all of these fucking hooks into all of these songs. He fills them to the brim to make every fucking moment just as impactful as the next. And like when you get to the harder and the soft moments, it's like it reminds me of like when you're listening to Dark Side of the Moon or something like, or when I don't listen to as much anymore, but like that specific the parts of the album that are like just quieter and like the parts of the album that are louder, and they all collide to like, make each part stand out more. I'd say if I had to pick a favorite track from this album, it would probably be Ruiner, just because
so
Ruiner is like it's the most hooky song on the entire album. Like there's, as an example for how this is structured, you got a verse and you got an intro and you got this like hip hop kind of beat that comes in and like fades out after Closer and like this amazing transition. And it's like this beat and then this verse, which is amazing, and then this chorus and the pre-chorus and then the verse and then the chorus, and then like it's just all of this shit is just so catchy and so good and so like just music at its highest level for me. And I can't like imagine how one could make something to that standard. I don't hold it in as much of high regard, like as I don't really listen to it nearly as much as I used to, because it's a mood album. Because like if you're not in the mood, this is just gonna kind of flip by you, I feel like. Because you have to be willing to spend a lot of time with this project, because it's really detailed and really like depressing.
Yeah.
Which is it's really funny because there's a song on here, which is the outro is "I'm gonna come all over you" repeated 10 times, and it's just like okay, and then a warm place comes and you're tearing up and you're like, what the fuck is happening? This should not be how this is going.
It's very surreal.
It's amazing, and it's just like by the time you get to Hurt, you're just like your whole world is flipped upside down. At least mine.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I can
I
fully understand that. Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, I've gushed about it shit for too long. It's probably not that good, but whatever. It's my favorite album that has ever been albumed.
Favorite album that has ever been albumed. Oh yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna start saying that instead of favorite album of all time. That's perfect.
Okay. Now I think that honestly, the Downward Spiral is one of the best experiences I've had listening to an album. To be honest, it's so out of the ordinary and at the same time full of hooks, and I love it. I love it in a way. Every song is memorable here. I don't have many complaints on this besides maybe as I said the middle part for me, like the Becoming and I Do Not Want This feel kind of not bad. I still think they're amazing.
What?
Shut
Becoming,
up.
come on.
I also come with the fucking shitty takes, but I adore this album. As I said, I fucking love it. It's almost
I feel like the thing is that like there might be low points, but that's a really good thing. But if you take out a second of this
Yeah.
album and replace it with like another song, it's fucking ruined. You ruin the whole thing. It's like perfectly structured.
yeah.
Like at least if you think these songs are terrible, that's fine. But like you have to admit that the way they are ordered is genius. It was unintentional.
As I said, the flow of this album is so something that I admire a lot, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that this is an amazing album. Honestly, a must listen, an essential to put it in a way. But yeah, I mean, after this, we're ready to move on, right?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, there's so much.
Their masterpiece. Because I'm gonna say this, their masterpiece is different to my favorite song, to my favorite album. Better to say.
For me, it's the exact same album.
But yeah, I mean, after that, they would release another on May, in 1994 EP called "Closer to God." Yeah, Closer to God. It's basically.
Man, what a.
Have you listened to it, Soup?
What a.
Like a few months ago, yeah. I don't remember much, but it was just very okay.
It's very okay. That's the thing. That's how I describe it. It's very okay. I don't know how Sweat feels about it. I want to know that. However,
you want to know how I feel
ahead.
about this? Well, here's how I feel about it. So it's a single, which it makes sense because it's a bunch of remixes of Closer.
But before Memorabilia is fucking dope.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So basically, this album, you have "Closer to God," which is I will say, "Closer to God" is a fantastic reinterpretation of the original song. It's got different hooks, a different tempo, but it's still like, it's like what you want a remix to be, like a significant remix. It's like a different perspective on a song that I think is really awesome. And then you got "Closer Precursor," which is a really, really cool dark ambient piece. And then the rest of the album doesn't fucking matter in the slightest.
Yeah, basically. I think for as
well, I want to say that, but like I'm pretty sure all of this remixed by Trent. No, it's not all remixed by Trent Reznor. Okay, never mind. Definitely not.
Definitely not. No. I'm looking at the credits now. There's so many people.
This is the only one that I'm sure Recoiled participated as a remixer.
Recoiled participated in pretty much every remix album before Fragile they were in.
Yeah, because they were on further down the spiral too.
Closer Deviation, the Heresy Blind. I really think.
Okay, never mind. Heresy Blind. I forgot that was a thing. That's a really good remix.
And also, but my favorite track from here is Memorabilia and Closer to God. I think those two are fucking incredible. But also, it has something that I don't know if I love or I hate. Depends on the day. Depends on if my period came. March of the Fuckheads, I think it's called.
That's the best title, I'd say.
I know, I love that title so much.
But like, yeah, I've shit on this, and I shouldn't have shit on this because it's a perfectly competent remix album. It's just a lot of these, like, it's just, I figured it as a single for Closer, and if you love the song Closer, which I think everybody in here does, then there's definitely something you can appreciate. But hearing the song Closer in very similar ways, 6 times on an album, it's not really meant to like be listened. It's like a interesting, but like in the way that Fixed was ordered to like, it was ordered to be be experienced kind of like as a project, and I cannot say the same for Closer.
Yeah.
For Closer to God. It is a single it is a promotion single basically, and it's just like a bunch of different versions of the song. But like at least it's cool that it like shows you like how much effort was put into all of these original songs, that you have all of these versions that are like completely different from each other.
I honestly respect it for how it plays with just one song in many ways. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just pretty okay.
I would also like to say that I own a CD that's like the March of the Pigs single, and that is significantly better of a single. I can't seem to find it, but like it has legitimate remixes that like are like so much longer, and it's like really I think it's one of their best remix things. It's got a remix of Reptile, and it's got all the pigs all lined up, which is like a 7-minute version of March of the Pigs, which I think if anyone here hasn't heard that song, they should definitely check that one out at least. Because that song's perfect. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
So, Soup, do you have anything you want to add to Closer to God?
Nah.
And
you just said it was okay, I think.
Yeah.
So, Gabe, anything you want to conclude on this?
Yeah, actually, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it right now. I actually think this is a great EP. I'm just gonna come out here and I like this a lot, actually. Yeah, I know that's kind of unpopular, but
that's fair. I think that's
I really do think that songs like Memorabilia and Closer to God are fantastic songs. I mean, sure.
I prefer the original Memorabilia though, because it's like it's less drunk. Sorry for interrupting.
No, you're fine. I don't really have much to say on it because it's a pretty recent listen and it's not one I managed to get very acquainted with. But I don't really hate it. I don't really see why this is kind of... I mean, okay, yeah, it's a bit bloated, and there are definitely a few that I could probably do without. I don't really know if we need Closer Further Away, if that's the one I'm thinking of. The rest, though, I think are pretty great, and I do like the inclusion of the original album version of Closer on here that does not cut in. It keeps the piano, the piano note at the end, which is why I love the video version so much, because it includes that instead of cutting straight into Ruiner, which kind of always rubbed me the wrong way because I love that really distorted keyboard at the end. It's so nice. So yeah, just a simple really of mine that I think it's solid. You know, it's good. I don't think by any means this is the best remix project by them I've heard, but you know, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's pretty.
That's all I gotta say.
Pretty okay. Hell yeah. So after Closer to God, a bootleg would come out. This is my favorite live from Nine Inch Nails in general.
Oh, here we go.
Woodstock 1994. Woodstock 1994. First of all, I gotta say this. The track list. Wait,
can I interrupt you for a second? Okay, I'd like to say that all of these songs were performed while the band was covered in mud.
Covered in mud, yep.
Okay, that's all I have to say.
The track, starting with Terrible Lie, ending with Help Me, I'm in Hell.
Well, it starts with Pinion, right?
Yeah, but it transitions to Terrible Lie, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
However, my favorite, one of the highlights. Well, actually, there are 3 songs from here that I adore with all my heart. The way this is the best version of Wish that I have heard live. The best version of Closer that I have heard live. And my favorite song from here is the best version of Reptile that I have ever heard live. I just adore how much energy is put onto this fucking shit. I adore it, to be honest. I don't have much to say much more than watch it if you can. Watch it completely. Listen to it completely. It's a completely experience regarding what it means to be a Nine Inch Nails fan, to be honest. Of course, it's only for completionists, but if you like Nine Inch Nails, you're not gonna get disappointed by this. Not at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, Super, have you heard this bootleg? What do you
Yeah,
think of it?
and I watched the remaster by
Nice.
it's on YouTube called Kevin Error did a remaster. Did a really great job, and yeah, I have pretty similar thoughts. This is really really tight, like chemistry, and again that stretch of tracks, Closer, Reptile, Wish, and Suck. Those are just so great. I love just how these tracks transform in a live format, a live setting, and yeah, it's just like a really great example of what this band can do live.
This band was crazy live.
Great.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
I say it was because shows after 2007, they're not that great, to be honest. They're kind of it's kind of Reznor.
Well, okay, I'm gonna have to stop you right there.
Go ahead.
They are quite great in a different way.
Yeah.
You can't. I feel it's definitely it's a thing with like the second half of this band's career on its own anyway. It's like you can't fucking be covered in mud and killing yourself and beating the shit out of everybody. Like from this fucking tour, they had like scars on their legs and shit. Like you can't keep doing that for like this is like a one time thing, and I feel like as that for as long as they were able to make it last is just like insane.
Yeah. So
it's also the best Woodstock performance.
I'm
going there. Even if the classics,
I'm not even talking
no.
about the classics. Even in the 90s, I don't think this was the best Woodstock performance. But I'm not gonna get into there because this.
Oh, you were more fan of the Limp Bizkit and Korn performances?
Honestly,
okay.
I'm not gonna lie.
Limp Bizkit's good live. I'm gonna say
Woodstock, Korn performances of the 90s, especially when they play Blind and shit. It's so full of energy. Yeah.
Yeah, all pretty much most of the Woodstock performances were actually better than the bands that would lead on.
Honestly, I respect Korn for their first albums. I respect their first albums. After that, they just I don't know what happened. But yeah, I mean, this band live as Sweat said, it's a one-time thing. A one-time thing that of course all bands have one-time things, like when Tool performed on a fucking where Maynard was with a bra and with a wig and he started calling all the audience whores. So yeah, of course it's a one-time thing. But that's what makes bands special live. That's what makes you want to see a band live, especially if it's a band that you like. But yeah, I mean, I think that this is a great experience if you're a Nine Inch Nails fan. Gabe, have you watched this?
Yes, I've watched it and I've also listened to it as an audio experience
what do you
only.
think?
I think this is probably one of the. I think in terms of at least 90s Nine Inch Nails, this is probably the best live document that I've heard so far. They've brought all the energy, all the aggression, all the power to this concert here. And of course, like Sweat said, they were covered in mud the whole time. They rolled in mud before they got on stage. And I
thought it was the band, the audience threw mud at them.
I've read that they rolled in it before. I don't know if that's the case.
No, the audience. You can see on the video, fucking fans trying to get shit on stage. To be honest.
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like I would want to be alive to see this, but at the same time, you know what? I think I'm good.
Yeah, I think no people like 90s Woodstock. It's
94 Woodstock at least Both of them actually were fucking disasters.
If I remember
Yeah.
correctly, Henry Rollins performed on '94 on Woodstock, and he started beating up the audience as a Henry Rollins would do. But yeah, it was fucking crazy. It was fucking nuts. But yeah, I mean, Sweat, what do you think of it on a more like developed?
Album based, yeah. I think it's I think it's fantastic. I prefer, in terms of live documents from this era, I prefer with Bowie.
Oh yeah.
That's not to discredit this at all. It's just like these songs are fucking nuts live. Like, the way he can like make all of these songs, like something I can never have is on this album. It's on this
Yeah.
concert, and like that song is like insane here, and I don't know how they did it, but like one thing I do want to highlight, particularly, which I think is the only version on here that I'd say maybe than Reptile, but I think the only version that here that's better than the original version is Happiness
Yeah.
and Slavery, which is just like
Mhm.
if you watch the video, you said you guys all saw it, but like during the fucking climax of the song, it's even more intense than the broken version. Because there's like people fucking spinning
Yeah.
on the stage. He's beating the shit out of his keyboard. It's like, I think like you see, there's like 15 seconds of like where I just fucking howled in laughter because he started humping his keyboard.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing, like, I mean, it must have sucked to be in this band because you were just beating the shit out of each other as you played these songs. But like,
I mean-
you know what? Yeah,
I mean, in the
it's amazing.
90s, you know, the core performances,
Yeah.
the audience was beat to shit because of everyone jumping at the same time. It's just
Yeah, it's amazing. Like the energy here is the most
like,
significant
the thing.
thing.
The thing I like here is that during Reptile, you can see like kind of in the back the part of the audience beating themselves, like fighting in a way. I love it so much. It brings so much to the song in a way. I adore this concert. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a great live album, and if you're a Nine Inch Nails fan, you're gonna enjoy it a lot. But yeah, they were released on.
I would say honestly, it's a good way to
Yeah.
get into the band because it has a lot of their best songs.
If I had to recommend someone a way to get into the band, I would honestly tell them to listen to either Wish, the Woodstock 2012, or The Fragile. But yeah, after this magnificent live performance, they would release another remix album. This time a proper album. That is Further Down the Spiral. And I have to say, this is my favorite remix album by them. First of all, it has so many great reinterpretations of songs. I love the Downward Spiral at the bottom, the 7 minute version. It's so.
That is one of the. I'm
No, go
sorry
ahead,
to
go
interrupt
ahead.
you again, but that is one of the best fucking things that Coil
Yeah.
would ever do.
I at the moment I agree.
That track is fucking
Yeah.
haunting in a way that a lot of Coil to me is
Yeah.
cheesy. Like that song takes the original and like amps it up and makes it horrifying. And if you heard it on the Spotify version where it cuts off to 5 minutes, then that fucking sucks, and I'm sorry. Cause the progression I only heard of this on streaming like a week ago, but a lot of the songs were cut. I didn't know about
Yeah.
that. That sucks. That's
That's
bad.
why I
It's pretty bad.
encourage downloading the original.
It's not
album.
even like cut in a way where it's like shorter versions. It's just like a sharp cut, and it's like no, this is like meant to be experienced as like a flowing
Yeah.
thing.
Another song that I like a lot from here is the fucking At the Heart of It All.
Oh, the
Yeah.
Aphex Twin song.
And the
Oh.
final part of Self-Destruction. The 9-minute version of that fucking thing is just
Oh my
fucking great. I just adore it so much. There, of course, it's some odd choices to be honest, but I adore the twist they're giving into some of their own tracks. Like that entire trilogy of The Art of Self-Destruction, Self-Destruction Part 2, and then Self-Destruction Final is just so fucking great. And the way that Piggy starts with "Nothing Can Stop Me Now," I think it's it's a decent opener, to be honest. But yeah, I like it a lot. I think it's their best. And I think this time. Oh, also another track, "The Beauty of Being Numb," I think it's called, like the
Yeah, the
yeah,
beauty of being numb.
that
Yeah.
is one of my favorite tracks as well. But yeah, I mean, I think the length that is more than an hour, I think.
So an hour
Yeah,
and 3 minutes,
I'll
just about.
Depends
And I
on
think
the version.
no,
Yeah, the other version is like 68 minutes. I
yeah,
think. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I think this version, like the original one that is 63 minutes, um, I think this one is really good. Honestly, I adore it. I think it's their best remix, and I would have liked to see Nine Inch Nails doing similar things to this on their other remixes. But we're gonna get to that. They didn't. In fact, they did
They kind
in a
of
way,
did.
but
They did it twice.
they did it worse, to be honest. But yeah, we're gonna get to that. So I like it a lot. I recommend those songs. Of course, the fucking The Downward Spiral at the bottom. The trilogy of Self Destruction. Fucking at the heart of it all is fucking great. Hell yeah. Of course, FX Twin and Coil are the kings here. I'm not gonna lie. It is also surprising that I discovered FX Twin from this album. But I discovered.
Technically, so did I.
discovered FX Twin due to this album.
I think I also just quotation marks discovered Aphex Twin through this.
Yeah, because
It's
I
funny
didn't even.
because just some background. Sorry to interrupt again. The background for this is that when Aphex Twin made that song, so he just made a song and he put it on and he released it. He didn't even know what they sounded like. So it's amazing that he gave them one of the more industrial songs that he's ever made. And it's probably, I'd say it's top 5 Aphex Twin songs.
Honestly, I think it's one of his best tracks. I'm not gonna lie.
It's up there for sure because it's one of the few songs that actually has a. Never, I'm not gonna get it. But yeah, Aphex Twin is great on this. Everybody's great on this.
So, what do you think of this, Gabe?
So I actually listened to the Further Down the Spiral for the first time for this podcast. I had known about it for a while, and that's also where I found out about Aphex Twin, but I hadn't heard it. The only thing I'd actually heard was Fetus, J.G. Thirlwell's remix, Self-Destruction Part 2. I don't know why that one specifically I heard and not the rest of it, but I heard that part, and I was pretty entranced by it. I thought it was pretty great. But I finally listened to the full album a couple days ago in preparation for this podcast, and it is
a trip.
Pretty incredible,
to be honest. For being a remix album, it's a trip.
At first I was just kind of okay with it, but then the Downward Spiral at the bottom came on, and I was just like, oh, it's gonna be one of those experiences. Okay. Something I put in my notes here is that the album's tracks, the album being the Downward Spiral, they're contorted and dissected to make new sequences and tracks. I'd say there are even some new emotional high points, I would say, maybe. And what I also said specifically in here is that there's also a somehow bleaker exploration of the Downward Spiral, the title track, being the bottom.
If I'm being honest, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think that the exploration that you talked to, like the dissection, is mostly seen on the trilogy of Self-Destruction, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
But yeah, continue.
One thing I do want to say is that at the heart of it all is incredibly brilliant, and it actually kind of floored me when I first heard it. God, this whole album is just insanely great. I listened to a lot of the other remix things before this. I listened to the March of the Pigs single. I listened to Closer to God Fixed, and then I came to this after all of those. And I really think this is a full summation of what Nine Inch Nails as in terms of their remixes. I think this is probably, from what I've heard, I haven't heard 2 of their remix things. 3 technically. I haven't heard your 0 remix. I think this is.
Shut up!
I think this, at the moment, from what I've heard, is their finest hour in terms of remix albums. It's cohesive. just about every remix on here is fantastic, and a lot of them, they don't really overstay their welcome. They all kind of have their own, how do you call this? I guess you could say they have their own realm that they kind of coexist with the rest of the songs on the album. They kind of have their own feel.
I have to go real quick. I'll be back very shortly.
Okay. So yeah, just it's incredible. I do also like the quiet version of Hurt on here. That's very good. I think. I mean, it's just cleaning up the song a bit. It kind of gets rid of that layer of distortion or whatever you want to call it on the original. So it's still very excellent. And yeah, I really think it's awful that this album is cut short on streaming services for some reason. I don't know why the bottom is. I don't know why Self-Destruction Final and the bottom are cut off.
Oh,
yeah,
wait,
they are on Spotify and Apple
why
Music
would they
cut off?
But why? I don't understand.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can go check now. Hold on. Which ones are they that are cut off? Let me go check.
In the meantime,
I think it's the bottom, and let's see. It is. Yeah, Self-Destruction Final is only 541 instead of 952.
And that's the best.
And Downward Spiral at the bottom is 558. I know. It's stupid, but yeah. If anyone's gonna listen to this, either hunt down a CD or see if you can just hire something like that. Don't listen to it on Spotify or Apple Music.
Yeah. So what do you think of this, Soup?
Okay, yeah. This is really good. I listened to it like 3 hours ago, and it was really great. The opener remix, Piggy, it goes way too hard for no reason. Let me bring up the track list. I listened to the it's just called the international version. Again, Art of Self-Destruction is really fucking great. The Downward Spiral, like, that remix is fucking great. I don't have much to say because I listened to this 3 hours ago and I feel so numb. I don't even know how many fucking Nine Inch Nails album I've listened to today. It was like 5. But yeah, it's really great.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think that that what this album does great is the fact that it gives a good twist. Like, it experiments in a great way, and it gives us some great tracks. So yeah, I mean, I think it did a great job. I give thumbs up to this.
Yeah, it's a really great, like, just kind of like new way to perceive these tracks. And despite how connected these tracks in the studio version are, I feel like these remixes do it justice still.
Yeah.
It's really well done.
Yeah, I mean, I adore what they did here, to be honest. Ready? Okay,
right.
So Sweat, what do you think of the further down the spiral?
I think, first of all, it's sold. I believe it's the highest selling remix album, like, of all time, which makes sense because it was released at the height of a popular band's career, and it kind of popularized of such a thing a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I wanted to say is that, to echo what I said for Closer to God with here, the Nothing Can Stop Me Now remix of Piggy is basically that, but for Piggy, in that it's basically a different song, but it takes a lot of the elements of the original, and like there's the drum and bass section, not really drum. I get what you mean. This album like is such an eclectic mix of influences. Like, I believe he was getting into IDM around this time because the Autechre and Square Pusher and Aphex, I think all were not Aphex. Luke Vibert released on his label. They released albums on her, and you can tell that he was like getting into it because because he asked Aphex
Yeah.
Twin to be on it. And yeah, I'd like to say that the flow all the way up to everything, including and up to track 9, is magical.
Yeah.
Like, maybe Racer Polite is kind of a shitty song, but like it's good enough that like it can be there. The downward spiral at the bottom is just like such an incredible, crushing moment. And like,
Yeah.
I like to say Self-Destruction Final is like, that song is massive. Like, a lot of this is like a lot more like wide and like expansive than you would expect from like the fucking band that, again, the band that released Pretty Hate Machine, which is still a great album, but like, it's hard to fathom that they came this far, really.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's just the way I love pretty much every track up until the last two, which is unfortunate, but like Beauty of Being Numb, the first half of that song sucks a big bag of poop. I hate that shit. I should like it because it's like, I think it's another Coil thing, but that fucking sucks. And then there's the Aphex Twin instrumental, which is really, really good. And then Erased Over Out happens, which is the worst thing they've released up to this point. This song is fucking garbage. You have this horrible fucking running vocal line. It's like, ah! It's like the most corny shit, and it's like, it's ending this album, which should have just ended in track 9. You would have been okay with that. Maybe include the piano thing at the end, but no. This song is 6 minutes, and it feels like an hour.
I mean,
I don't understand why this track was included, but if you want a better like remix collection thing, I recommend that you check out the second side of the deluxe edition of Downward Spiral, which includes pretty much all the best remixes they made. Like, it's got Closer to God on it, it's got the Bottom on it, it's got some of the stuff from March of the Pigs. It's like, it's on Spotify, I think, just the deluxe version,
yep.
the second side of that. It's also got Burn, which is an amazing, amazing song. Another thing I'd like to say is that the international version that I think Soup listened to is also better, because the ending is a lot queerer, and it also includes the Heresy and the Ruiner remix, which are both pretty cool. I also like Denial Realization, which has this really cool guitar line. And other than that, that's all I have to say.
hell yeah.
I talked too long
don't
for that.
worry.
Oh my god.
I mean, I also hate.
All right.
To be honest, the worst thing that the band
Okay, I'm overestimating. I don't hate it. I just hate that it's on there.
To me, the worst thing that they have done would come ironically on the Year Zero remix.
Oh my god. We're gonna battle over this. I swear.
Okay, so also one thing that I want to mention, and
I think I know what you're talking about.
one of the
But
things
we'll
that
get to that.
surprised me, like, here, is that fucking Rick Rubin is credited on the album.
Is he? What song does he
Yes, he
do?
is.
I'm not.
I have the line.
He's not produced. I think not as a remixer. I'm not sure. I think more as an engineer, to be honest.
He remixed. He's a remixer on
Oh.
Piggy.
Damn,
That makes
yeah.
sense, because that's the most
that's the cleanest to put it on.
normal.
But yeah, I mean, it's surprising to see that Trent Reznor started to build his empire at this point.
Okay, I think it's been 2 hours. I think we need to speed it up.
It's been 2 hours already.
Also, I just posted my collection.
Hey, oh, damn, that's a nice collection.
Ooh, you have the perfect drug. Yo,
Damn.
that's dope.
Soup, you better.
Okay.
One day I'm gonna sneak in your.
Yeah, we should hurry up. What's next?
Yeah, let's go.
Next is the Quake soundtrack, but I'm not gonna focus on that
Oh
one
yeah.
because it's a Trent Reznor project.
Wait,
We're
we're
not
not doing it.
Okay, we should at least talk
I
about.
think-
Yeah,
I
you just, kinda gloss over it.
I think it's nice. I think it's nice. I think it's honestly something that if you put it on the video game, it's nice, but by itself, I don't think it works. To be honest.
Yeah, it's very. I think the problem I had with it myself, and I'm sorry if I interrupted. I'm just trying to rush this so we
Yeah,
can move
yeah.
on to Fragile. Um, uh, is that it's very repetitive and it's also very boring. Like there's not really much substance to it if you're paying attention to it. At least from what I picked
Well,
out
the
of it.
thing is that it's not particularly meant to be paid attention to.
Right. It's a
Like
soundtrack.
as background music, I haven't played Quake, but I'd imagine from listening to this, as background music when I'm like doing work or something, it's great. It's great for that. It's not an ambient project in that, like, if you're really interested in hearing more of the industrial shit from this group, you should definitely check it out.
I have
Yeah.
played Quake, but I'm not a fan of Quake. I think it's a shit game compared to.
Oh
Yeah.
What? That doesn't seem possible. I didn't think it was. Huh. I thought everybody
no, I
loved
don't
that
love it.
game.
I think it's a.
wow.
Okay, the first track is really, really good. I want to say
Yeah, I'll
that's
play
the
that.
one
I'll
I
play
can
that.
listen to. That like the opening is like is
Yeah.
amazing. That's like I'd imagine if you were to boot up the game,
it's
that would be
true.
really cool.
It's true.
The-
I'm sorry, Gabe. I'm sorry if this surprised you.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
This
Go,
caught
go,
you by
go.
surprise, apparently. But I think that what
Well, you put it on the list. That's why I was like confused.
I think it's just
yeah,
because
exactly.
we're taking so long.
But
Okay,
yeah,
good
I
point,
mean,
good point, good
the
point.
thing is that by itself, like while you're working and shit, it may work, but I wouldn't put this. There are much better dark ambient albums out there. There are much better video game music
Yeah,
with
no,
ambient, like the Half-Life soundtrack and the Fallout soundtrack. Fucking.
I don't like the idea of listening to ambient music to video game soundtracks without playing the
Yeah.
video game on its own. It's just kind of like movie
One-
soundtracks is usually a different story. Sometimes, but like just the idea of listening to a video game
Yeah.
separate doesn't
Okay,
really.
So after this,
But yeah,
it would come
Fragile?
my favorite.
Wait, oh.
Okay, Soup. Have you listened to the Quake soundtrack?
I gave it an 8 out of 10.
oh,
So
It's good. It's good. It's good.
I think it is really like. I think the production is really, really good.
Yeah, it's like really well produced.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
It's
not the most like
Yeah,
substantial.
surprisingly, their production
of,
is
like,
tight.
National
Yeah,
projects.
the production is tight.
The thing is, when I go for this, I usually when I want this kind of stuff, I go to Ghosts.
I have things
Yeah,
to
that's
say
fair.
about Ghosts, mainly the.
well,
God.
you'll get
Yeah.
to say things about.
Okay,
God,
so
here we
after this,
Wait, I just want to say one
Okay,
last thing
okay,
about
okay,
Quake.
okay.
Okay, one last thing. This album reminds me. I don't know why it does. It reminds me of Homosapie to Marie by Nurse
It
Wound. I don't
does?
know why it does, but it really
Why?
does.
That is a
Yeah.
fair. That
It
is a
does
fair.
that kind of sparse, really uncomfortable vibe that it kind of has. It reminds me of that album.
I think it's that, but significantly less effective
Yeah,
to me, at least. I don't know.
yeah. Okay, I'm done with Quake. We can move on.
okay, so after this,
Oh god.
it would come my favorite album by the band, and one of my favorite albums in general.
Ooh,
Starfighters.
Yeah, this is the thing with 1999. They took a kind of a break. It's a double album, for fuck's sake. They took 2 years to record this, and you can feel that in a way. I'm a sucker when there are big, like, long albums with many ideas. Like, one of my favorite albums is Melancholy and the Infinite by the Smashing Pumpkins, and it's kind of the same that happened in the Fragile. However, the Fragile gives it's another genre, but it's the same exploration of different types of tracks in one big experience. So the Fragile, I adore. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. I'm doing the Gabe thing here because it is this the start of Somewhat Damaged. The da na 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 da na na na. It's some of the most
Yes.
memorable shit I've ever listened to in any album. To be honest, just that simple way to start it. Like, how do you go from starting your album with fucking like the Downward Spiral started to this? It's like a big change, but I love it. It's still a great album. I honestly love as Sweat was singing, the fucking it's a jack of all trades. You have songs like The Day the World Went Away. And one thing that I think I adore from this is the fact that Aphex Twin participated on this album. and you can kind of feel that. Yeah.
He did? I didn't know
Well,
he did.
I'm not sure if he did.
Oh, okay, but like a significant, so many people
Yeah.
were on this album.
Oh my god!
Did
Yeah.
you
Wait,
know that
Dr. Dre was a
Dre?
mixing
Yeah,
assistant?
Dr. Dre is the mixing assistant. That's something that
I thought he only did
he's
one
the
song.
mixing assistant of the entire
he did.
album.
He was missing. No, he was
Holy
mixing
shit.
assistant for Even Deeper. Apparently, I don't know if that's.
Yeah,
a
he
whole,
did.
I don't know if
He
you guys
was
know.
significant on Even Deeper. I don't know the rest of the album.
Honestly, I just when I bought the album on physical, I was tripping because I love it so much. I was reading the credits, and there is so many people credited. I think this was the project that had the most help from the outside, like people like Leo Herrera and Steve Albini.
There's
Steve
Mike
Albini
Garson.
participated on this.
on
Adrian Bellew, the one that Adrian Bellew, the one that participated on King Crimson.
He's awesome. His soul
did
work.
Yeah,
guitars
he
for
did the
Downward Spiral,
guitars
too.
for honestly, I love his guitar work here, and I'm surprised that people like Adrian Bellew participated on this. If you listen to his stuff, it's kind of really different than what is here, but I adore this. Honestly. This has my favorite Nine Inch Nails song of all time, the Wrecked, and also I also adore The Day the World Went Away so much. As Sweat said on his review, this is kind of
Don't quote my fucking review. I wrote
yeah, but it's kind of like a double album. It's definitely not a rock opera. You fucking think so. But
yeah, I wrote it when I first got on. It was the first day I got on this website. Okay. This fucking shit. And I didn't delete it because it was the first day I got on the website. I should have deleted it, but I didn't delete the review. And it's still there. And it's embarrassing as shit. And I still have it up because it was the first thing I ever did.
Honestly, I adore the flow of this album. Surprisingly, even though that in concept it is disjointed songs put together, to me it isn't. It has a flow. The transition from the left to the right side, it's so fucking good. It's so fucking good. The way the Great Bellow ends so dramatically, and then it starts with The Way Out Is Through. That starts so slow, and then there are songs like Starfuckers Inc. This is basically the mix of ideas from the Downward Spiral, from Pretty Hate Machine, from Broken. It's everything in just one album. And I love the ending of this album. Ripe with Decay is one of my favorite closers of all time. Honestly. I adore this so much. But yeah, I'm not gonna focus on this too much. So, Gabe, what do you think of this album?
Okay, I need to explain myself because
This
is not okay. This is not one of my favorite albums of all time, but I need to say this much: The Fragile is a masterpiece.
Hell yeah!
It is one of it. Excuse me. It is one. This album was very polarizing for me for a while, for years actually. I listened to this the day after I listened to that Downward Spiral, and I did not get it whatsoever. I didn't know why it was so acclaimed, why it was even considered better than Downward Spiral for some people that I had seen. I didn't really understand. I thought the first disc was pretty solid, but then the second disc was just kind of there. I didn't really get. I felt like it was very bloated and it was a bit too long for my liking, so I basically gave it a 7 out of 10 and I slapped it on there and I left it. It took me until last year to come around and realize, holy shit, this album was fucking amazing. Because this is, oh my god. Okay, so we mentioned it earlier about how the Downward Spiral was kind of influenced by like the classic rock concept albums and how they were kind of fleshed out and all sorts of stuff. I think that in terms of fleshing out, The Fragile, in terms of I guess just size, scope. That's the word I'm looking for. In terms of scope and scale, this is Trent Reznor's probably finest hour in terms of that, because you have so much consistency across almost 2 hours of music, 2 discs, and I can't really think of a song in here that I outright dislike. I mean, Starfuckers is just.
I love Starfuckers.
I mean, it's Starfuckers, so I mean, you can't really.
Starfuckers, it's really catchy to be honest.
I must say that since I've listened to this album, "We're in This Together" has been in my top 5 Nine Inch Nails songs ever since. It hasn't left. It's one of my favorite songs by them, and it's such a brilliant song. And I'm so glad that, for once, I think if there's a song that I had to say, I mean, was it a single or did it just get a video? I don't know if we even know if it was a single. I know it got a video. Okay, so it was a single. I'll often have moments where I'm like, you know what, that song doesn't fit as a single. They have other songs on the album that would have been better as a single. I think that's a perfect song they could have made a single.
We're in this together?
Yeah.
I think they released like 3 EPs from it. It's weird.
Yeah, I know they did Into the Void and they did Starfuckers too. So I don't know if they did any others though.
They did Day of the World. That was the first single for this album, which is I think it was intentionally made to tank it. Because like Day of the World Went Away is not a single. That is not a good idea. That is like
It's very crucial to the album. It should not really be taken as a single.
I know that's why they did it. I'm pretty sure that's why it's the first single. Yeah. It's an amazing song. Though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. So I just want to make it clear that I love this album. I think it's incredibly solid, and it continues the level of consistent brilliance that Nine Inch Nails had in their first 10 years. I think after this, they definitely take, in terms of studio discography, they take it's not a noticeable dip. I think they take a subtle dip in quality, but I will get to that when we get there. I'll get to that when we get there. I should just say this right now. I'm just going to make it clear. I don't think Nine Inch Nails has a bad album.
I do think.
I should just say that. Okay, we'll get there when we get there.
In 5 hours, we'll be talking about Year Zero Remix album.
I think they have weak albums, not necessarily bad ones. So, just gotta say it. For The Fragile's a masterpiece. It's not one of my favorite albums, mostly because it wasn't so personally important to me and personally impactful. But I do think that it's a very excellent album. It's a masterpiece, like I said, and I think it's one of the most emotional and personal records that Trent Reznor has ever had his name credited to.
I agree with that. It's
just incredible.
Hell yeah. Soup, what do you think of The Fragile?
So as I was talking about, the downward spiral, 2 hours ago, it's a very harrowing experience. It's a very intense. It's one of the most essential albums of the '90s, honestly. But The Fragile has La Mer, so this was my favorite Nine Inch Nails album.
That's fair. I'll give that to you.
Hell yeah.
It's just, despite its long runtime, it's just so consistent. It offers kind of every aspect that I love about this band. There's beautiful ambient soundscapes, these heavy industrial tracks, and then just kind of, Starfuckers.
Starfuckers, I love that track. Don't blame me.
Yeah, it's good. And then, obviously singles like Wearing This Together. Also, shout out to the title track. It's a really great track. And just some of my favorite
song is so beautiful.
Songs ever, honestly. Yeah, definitely. That's all I have to say. Yeah.
I mean, my favorite Nine Inch Nails song is always between The Fragile and The Wrecked. To be honest, The Wretched. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm fucking Hispanic.
It doesn't matter. It's fine.
Yes.
I say Wrecked because I saw Wreck-It Ralph. I don't fucking know. The thing is that
it's actually. Did you know that Wreck-It Ralph is actually inspired by that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, what are your opinions on The Fragile? Sweat.
I love this record. I deeply love this record to a point where there was a summer where this record, The Wall, and Soundtracks for the Blind were all I listened to.
Well, I had so much like that too, but instead of The Fragile, it was Pretty Hate Machine. Oh my god.
Yeah,
instead of The Wall was
maybe it wasn't that. There was a summer earlier where I was obsessed with Nine Inch Nails and that was it. Maybe some 90s grunge, but there was so much variety within this fucking album that I listened to it daily. I could get shit from this thing. Every single new experiences from this album.
I don't know every how many times I have re-listened to The Fragile, but every time I do, I get something out of it. always.
Because there's just so much detail in this thing. It's like a mixture. It's not a perfect album in the same way that Downward Spiral is, but like it's everything that's good about music again, but like in a different way. That's like one thing I don't think anybody's mentioned is how genre bending this thing is. Because like there's drum and bass on this album. There's IDM. There's ambient.
As I was saying, this is like Melancholy, because if you listen to Melancholy is not just an alternative rock album. They have
but it's Melancholy, except the second side is worth a shit. You know?
Yo, that's a bass take,
I love
honestly.
Melancholy.
I'm just kidding. I can see that comparison. However, I would still kind of disagree because this album goes farther than that
in
does.
a way.
Because there's a lot more, like, people are like talking about Starfuckers, like, that's an outlier, but it's kind of like, it's the drum and bass song, like, I don't know, man, there's just so many good things about this album, and again, it's a depressing listen, but not in the, like, upfront way that Downward Spiral is. Like, you listen to it and you're just kind of, like, calm, even though when it's, like, intense, like, I'd say the intro of this, the perfect stretch, is from, like, the intro of Somewhat Damaged to Just Like You Imagined. Like, that stretch of 7 tracks is just, like, all of these songs, again, are so beautiful and so well produced. I'd say, like, this might be even better produced. It's a different one, significantly different, so I can't really compare, but even better produced than Spiral. Like, just how organic it feels and how balanced everything is, even though there's so much layers. It's just like I can't, like, it's so creative. It's just like I feel like in terms of music, like this album is what influenced my music the most out of everything. Cause like the drumming on here, all the performances are amazing. Like the piano work on Just Like You Imagined. Can we talk about that for a second? Like, holy shit. Mike Garson of like, he's huge with David Bowie. And like, and his like shit on that is so chaotic and amazing. It's such an epic song. Like, epic is a bad adjective, but it's just, I don't know. And then like the second side, it's just like, there's something unique about this album in a way that like, I don't think applies to any other album really. Like, even like the other Nine Inch Nails albums, they're not as like unique as this. Like Downward Spiral, you can paint like a clear influence from sort of, kind of. I don't know what I'm really talking about here, but like there's just a feeling from this album that I don't get anywhere else. It's just so good.
I get what you mean. I honestly respect this album for what it did. As you said, it's a jack of all trades, as I was saying. It offers you a lot, at the same time being really concise and really fleshing out all the ideas here. To me, this is my favorite Nine Inch Nails project because despite feeling like loose ideas, every song feels like they have emotional power over you.
Oh yeah, also, sorry to interrupt again, but La Mer and Great Below, those two tracks combined are like the best thing.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
Holy shit. Great Below, like when that shit like goes to the violin section.
Oh fuck.
Like that makes me tear up every time I hear that. It's just so amazing. Yeah. The melodies, like the ear for melody, the ear for production, the ear for everything on this project is just I just can't explain how it's been made. It's just so good. I would also like to point out the vinyl version, which has the 2 extra tracks, which is 10 Miles High and New Flesh.
I want the vinyl so bad.
You should get it. It's so good.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. But yeah, the New Flesh is like the darkest song like on here. I think both of them are on the remix. I don't know. I know 10 Miles High is, but 10 Miles High is really good. And like, yeah, I don't know. I've talked about this shit for too long.
It's just a great album. It's just a great album.
This one, Downward Spiral, and Year Zero are the tri-pitch for me of the perfection that this band made.
So after anyone wants to add something before we move on? This is just a perfect album for me. Every time I re-listen to it, I get something out of it, and that
The CD
oh,
packaging is
I
also like the best.
adore the CD
packaging.
packaging so much.
Like it has all the lyrics and all the beautiful artwork. Like
yeah, and the
it's so
cover.
good.
I love how like the digital cover that is just on physical is much better, but on digital that is just the logo cut in half, and I adore that so much. After this,
so good.
They would release the Things Fall Apart, on 2000, like a remix version. I don't like this. I think it's mediocre, to be honest. I like the Great Collapse and maybe the what was it? The Starfuckers version Inc. I don't know how to.
There's too many fucking versions of the worst song Fragile on here, and it makes sad.
Also the song the song
Starfuckers remixes.
The song Metal is just I don't know. I don't have any. Literally, I have nothing to say about this because it offers you nothing, to be honest. And as you said, 3 versions of Starfuckers were not needed in any way. Yeah, but yeah.
I can kind of see that now because that's like the dancey song, so that makes sense why it has the most versions.
Yeah, I mean,
they're not good, but it makes sense based on the genre of why that was most versions.
But
also, to counter your point, you just glossed over the other version of the Frail on here, which is amazing, and I don't know why you did that, to be honest. Can you please explain yourself?
The 2-minute version, almost 3 minutes, yeah.
The 2-minute version? Yes.
I don't know. I like it, but it's nothing that... I still prefer the original, to be honest. A lot.
That's fair. I just love his piano pieces.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's nothing bad. It's just that I don't think this needed to exist. That's it. But yeah, I mean, after this, I don't know. They started to fall down on remixes. But yeah, I mean, so Gabe, have you listened to this?
I actually have not. This is one of the 2 things that I did not listen to in preparation for this podcast.
Have you listened to this?
I gave it a perfect 10. No, I have
not. Okay, so
I would recommend checking it out because it's not like a bulky thing like Further Down the Spiral is. Like it feels more like Closer to God or something. It's not really ordered in a too good of a way, but like there's some really good moments on here that I think everybody should hear. I love the cover of Metal.
I think the cover is good.
I really like Gary Newman had a huge influence on Trent. It's you can hear like his early stuff in the cover of Metal. It's up there with there's 2 covers of the song. One is by 9 Inch Nails and the other is a Poppy cover of Metal. I don't know why everybody covers this song, but I'm glad they do because it's a really good song.
I like the 7-minute. I don't know. I have problems with it, but
I think it's a bit too long. But
I think it stretches out for longer than it should. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just okay. I have not much to say from it. And yeah, I mean, if you want to check it out, if you're a 9 Inch Nails fan, it's worth it for some of the remixes here. But Starfuckers just... I mean, I like the original song, to be honest. But I don't think it needed fucking 3 versions of it. But yeah, after this, they would release another, I don't know what to call it, album. I don't really think.
Live album plus B-side?
I think. I mean, there's a lot. There
Studio
are
session
a
album.
lot of interpretations of songs here on acoustic version, but yeah,
we're talking about Still first?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they would release a Still on 2002. And I think this is I really like this album, to be honest. But I don't know if it really is a new album by the band. I like their interpretation of The Fragile and The Day the World Went Away, and especially and all that could have been. But I don't know. I like it a lot. It's as happened with My Bloody Valentine last time. It's one of those albums that I like a lot, but at the same time I can't describe why I like it a lot. I just think it's a great album that should be listened. It's just like good acoustic pieces, to be honest, and good piano performance also. Not forgetting to mention that. But yeah, I mean, what do you think of this, Gabe?
Of what part specifically? The whole thing, or just okay? I'll start with "And All That Could Have Been," I guess, since we're doing both.
No.
Are we doing
I
both?
mean, the still has.
It's still
it still has a 6-minute version of "And All That Could Have Been." I think it's track 7-6.
That's not
track
a version.
7, yeah.
That's just like the actual version of that song. I don't think that's the difference.
So wait, which one are we doing right now? Are we doing the live album?
We're doing Still. I'm pretty sure we're doing Still.
Yeah.
Okay, we're doing Still now. Okay. So Still is brilliant. I'm gonna go to the length and say this is a masterpiece. I love the reinterpretations of all these songs pretty much. I think that the re-recording of Something I Can Never Have is brilliant, and it's a perfect way to open the album. Leaving Hope is probably my favorite song on the entire album. That is just beautiful. That's all I really got to say about it. It's beautiful.
As I was saying, sorry for interrupting, but it is what happened with the My Bloody Valentine. I like it, but I don't know if I can explain why. To be honest.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it too. It's so pleasant to listen to. And I think that there isn't really I shouldn't say it. I can't say for sure if there's not a poor moment on here, but I do know that I think this is just brilliant because it kind of shows a side of Nine Inch Nails you don't really get to see very often. And it's a side that they only explored very little on their earlier stuff, because you'd have Something I Can Never Have. You had, like La Mer on The Fragile. You can say A Warm Place is sort of a prototypical exploration of this kind of thing, but not really.
Hurt,
Oh yeah, Hurt definitely.
Kind
of. It's just I think it's a very solid album, and I think that the reinterpretations of all of these songs, give or take maybe a couple, I don't really know which ones to name off the top of my head. I think they're just brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much that I can say about it, but yeah. Soup, what do you think of Still?
It's good.
It's good. Exactly. I don't have much to say about it, but I like it a lot. I don't know if I can explain. Sweat, what do you think of it?
I have a lot of things to say about Still. I'm surprised you guys, because this album got me into ambient.
In a way,
basically.
I see it much more as a singer-songwriter album, to be honest.
I don't particularly, because most of the album is, at least like half of it, in more ways, like, I don't know. This is just one of the most beautiful things. I feel like I'm pretty sure it's the lowest point he's ever been mentally, and like that shows in this fucking thing, because this thing is like this is, I'd say this is the most depressing album they'd ever make. It's just so buried in like sadness and depravity and stuff. It's like it's not angry, because it's just like I feel of it, like the title is like, this is really pretentious, but like still it's like, just it's always been here and it always will be, depression shit. And it's just like an acceptance kind of. It's like when you hear all of the first phase, I'd say, of this band, this is where it ends basically, and it's like, and it ends, I'm gonna say the tracks I love are Adrift of Peace, All That Could Have Been, and Leaving Hope. Those are some of the best. I'm gonna talk, like, Leaving Hope, I like top 5 songs from them. Like, I can't even, like, it's just one of the most beautiful things you could, it's almost spiritual in a way. This track, it's just like, it, especially coming after all of what had happened and all of the suffering he'd been through. It's just like, it's such a beautiful moment that I don't know. I can't really put it into words in a way. But yeah, I love this thing. A lot of people do talk about it, but I feel like they write it off as kind of like a remix kind of. It's not really, because like the only version that's like very close to the original here is Something I Can Never Have.
Yeah.
And even then, that's like far better than the original version because it doesn't have the cheap sound that the rest. Not to like shit on Pretty Hate Machine, but like this version is like so much more beautiful. Even with the lyrics still being the same, it's a lot more mature. Yeah, and I also want to point out "Day the World Went Away" because that's the end. The way they end that song, they sometimes do it live, but like the build up with the drumming is like really, really good, and I love the interpretation of that. That's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it basically. And after that, we do have the album, the live album that has the name and all that it could have been. I like this a lot. I like it a lot, to be honest. It's close to Woodstock, but not. There are minor things. Mainly that I haven't seen the video of it. I don't know if there's a video of it, but yeah.
I think there is on YouTube.
I fucking love The Day the World Went Away on this album, on the live album. And the mark has been made live on this version is just great. And the I don't know how to pronounce it. I like it a lot. Yeah, the Wretched. And the transition from the Frail to the Wretched is just so good. But yeah, I like this live album a lot. I think it's long, of course, but I like it. I like how every track flows. I like how it goes from Closer to Head Like a Hole to The Day the World Went Away. Like, it's crazy how they transition from one song to another. And the version of Wish and Suck here, like one next to the other, I like them a lot as well. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about it, Gabe?
We're talking about And All That Could Have Been now, right?
Don't worry about it.
This is, I think I agree with you on this, on how it's kind of on the level of Woodstock, but not so much. This, I think, is the perfect example of a Nine Inch Nails live experience after the Downward Spiral era, because this is just incredible. But there's a fusion, I want to say, of aggression and energy with I don't know how to describe it. I guess that kind of you can tell that Trent Reznor's getting older now, and that he's kind of slowly working the level of destruction he was bringing on stage in the 90s, destroying keyboards every show and that kind of thing. I still think he's definitely as aggressive as he ever has been musically. The version of Terrible Lie on here is on par with my other favorite live version of this song, which is the version from the Closure film at Lollapalooza 91. That is just incredible. And I think that how the album just kind of jumps right into it is perfect. It really just throws you into that environment, and it kind of keeps that whole vibe across the album. There isn't a single song on here that I don't like, and I really do think this is a collection of some of the finest cuts from their early discography. This is pretty much Nin plays their greatest hits live,
basically,
with some exceptions. But it's just a very solid lineup of songs, and I think definitely I want to say probably about the first half of the album is just a perfect run.
Yeah, I like it a lot, to be honest. I really do. It wouldn't be the same without it, to be honest. All songs feel like the presence of every song feels justified here. The only thing that annoys me is how loud the crowd noises can be at times. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a great live.
That only bothers me during the Frail.
Yeah,
that's kind of annoying. But you know, it's fine.
Soup, have you listened to this?
Good. No. This is the first bit of like live material that I heard of the band. It was last night. But I was listening to it. First two tracks, Terrible Lie and Sin. This is good. This is kind of what I expected. And then March of the Pigs came on, and I realized I was a fucking dumbass because this is really fucking great. Just the transition from each track, especially March of the Pigs to Piggy, just this aggression and whatever the fuck's going on in Piggy. And then some really great renditions of tracks like Closer and again Wish and Suck. Starfuckers and then Hurt. This is just a way to cap off the show. It's just a really great.
It's a great live
so
show,
good.
yeah.
And it might grow to be one of my favorite live albums. Period. But I've only heard 20, so yeah.
I mean, you're still growing, boy. Don't worry. You're gonna find your perfect ones.
No.
But what do you think of it, Sweat?
I love this thing. God, I feel bad for anybody who has to fucking watch this shit because it's so long and so. I love this. I love that. Hopefully, we'll get into some fighting towards the end. But this thing is just it's amazing. I have memories of singing along to this thing and watching the performances and how he would deliver these songs. It's just amazing. I would echo the kind of the greatest hits collection because it's these should not fit as well as they do together. Because Gave Up into Great Below, that doesn't seem like something that should, but it does, and it's incredible. Yeah, I love this thing. The version of Starfuckers is better here as well.
Yeah.
Version of Day the World Went Away. What they do with the ending of that song is so good.
Yeah, I adore this.
Yeah, and I just think it's in the same vein of Still, it's just such a great closing to this era of such an amazing band.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got.
I mean, I think we can all agree after this. I mean, we're gonna get into some fighting, especially with Year Zero and such. So after this, it's a great live album and it's a must. Honestly, it's a must check out. And yeah, I think I would introduce. Thinking about it, I would introduce people to Nine Inch Nails with this because it has their greatest hits basically live. And so after this, in 2005, after 3 years, they would release their following album, With Teeth. With Teeth.
With the Tifa.
And this has Getting Smaller is one of my favorite songs from them. I'm just gonna say that right off the bat. I love how energetic it is. Surprisingly energetic it is. I like The Hand That Feeds. I Know You Know What You Are. And Every Day Is Exactly the Same is just fucking great. Right Where It Belongs, it's a good closer. And All the Love in the World, it's kind of a weak opener, to be honest.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm with Gabe on that one. That's the best song on the record.
This is where Sweat said, people are gonna start disagreeing. They're gonna start disagreeing.
I have to say that this is up to this point. It would be other records would take this trophy from this album. Up to this point, this is their weakest release, to be honest. And
okay, up to this point, if you're counting
only a studio,
stuff,
only
yes,
studio.
I agree with you.
Not in general, only studio. But yeah.
I would disagree.
Okay,
actually,
let's go to that. What do you think of this, Gabe?
I'm going straight to me. Okay. Yeah, I think this is better than Pretty Hate Machine.
Oh my god.
It's a similar thing because it's it's more mature, but again, this is the catchiest and most mainstream I feel like Nine Inch Nails ever went. All of the songs, the first half is where all the blunders come in. All the Collector is not good. The vocal performance on that is not enjoyable. Hand That Feeds is pretty okay. That's That's what you. It makes sense. It was a hit because it's like the most mainstream song. I feel like when you think of like Nine Inch Nails that would be played on the radio, it's like the song. It's yeah, it's still good. Love Is Not Enough is also cool. I really like this album when it gets into the second half, where it's like what the original concept was going to be starts to reveal itself. It gets more like out there. Like Getting Smaller, I agree. Getting Smaller is amazing. Sunspots is really good. I love the last 6 tracks of this album. All of them are just fantastic, and like they kind of go into the theme of what this album was going to be, which is like a reality thing, but that ended up not happening. And this is like what that could have been. And I think it's really cool. My problem is that this is like this it's a very good album. It's pretty much on the same quality. It's just like it's them finding their footing again, basically. Because it's definitely more simple, and that's not a bad thing. It's not like coming off of Fragile, you can't do that again. Like it's a lot more simple. It's a lot easier to listen to, but it's still very good.
Yeah, I think it's pretty great as well. I mean, compared to other, I think Pretty Hate Machine is superior than this by far. But I don't know. I really have hot takes coming on. So Soup, what do you think of With Teeth?
For a while, I kind of saw this as like probably I don't want to say the worst, but like the least good studio album from them. But I listened to it for this podcast, and by that I mean 6 hours ago. And yeah, a lot of the tracks are growing on me. Yeah, as a whole, it doesn't start off the best, but it definitely like grew on me as it went along. The tracks are much tighter as they like go on. They're much more consistent. Not much to say, just good. I don't want to say it's better than Pretty Hate Machine, but some of the tracks I do like more. Down here, yeah.
Hell yeah. So Gabe, what do you think of this album?
So I think that at least coming from, the peak of their 90s run, With Teeth is by far their at the moment, as of 2005, is their weakest studio album. But that doesn't mean that it's bad, because I still think that's pretty great. I have not listened to this album in a long time, so you have to bear with me. I'm just kind of remembering what I can, but I do remember the 2 songs that I absolutely love off this album are All Love in the World and Beside You in Time.
Beside You in Time is so good.
It's fantastic. I think it's probably one of the best modern Nine Inch Nails songs, in my opinion. The rest of the album is great. Obviously, as I mentioned, I have it at an 8 out of 10.
Numbers.
Yeah, I brought that out finally for once. I started bringing out numbers. I will definitely have to re-listen to this soon. It's just I do think that this album is, for what it is, it's solid. But I do think there's a bit of a come down from the level that they were on in the 90s. Or the level that Trent Reznor was on in the 90s.
I feel like that's necessary, though, because each Nine Inch Nails album from the 90s was an escalation and going bigger and bigger and bigger. So
yeah, I totally get it. It's just I don't really know if it appeals to me as much as the other albums did, which that might just happen. Again, I'll have to re-listen to it, but right now I do think that it's a solid album, and that it's still a pretty great example of Nine Inch Nails having really consistent albums. That's all I gotta say.
I mean, to me, this album it fails in a lot of things that the other albums in their discog did great. But I mean, it's good. It's still good. It's just their weakest release yet, so far up to this point. After this, oh mama, they would get. I don't know what happened with Reznor, but something happened. Maybe Getting Better had to do something with it. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't wanna
no.
go at it. Okay, so
Are we doing every day is exactly the same?
I don't think so.
I'll just say I listened to it. I haven't listened to it yet, and
Yeah,
it kind of
it's-
sucked. Not
I
really
mean,
like.
the
It's just it's insignificant in that
yeah,
it's
the
like
only-
a
the only
dance
thing
thing.
that I like-
The ELP
the
mix is
DFA
good.
the DFA
That's
mix.
good.
I love all DFA mixes, especially like like they did remixes for Gorillas and shit. But the Hand That Feeds, the 9-minute version, I like it. I like it in a way.
I did not like that song, but you do you.
You're not gonna like my next take. Okay, so we're gonna jump.
I'm not. I'm not gonna like it at all.
Their next album, released in 2007, is Year Zero, which I think is worse than With Teeth. Is by far one of their weakest releases.
Well, okay, I will.
You don't
Okay,
have to be
I actually agree with
afraid.
you.
You can
I
let
actually
me.
agree with
Okay, so I like the album until track 9, The Warning, but then after that, I just think it goes off the rails and it becomes something boring and underdeveloped in a way. But
Right? Elaborate.
I have no problems with some noise. I like when noise is like used in a great way. However, in songs like The Great Destroyer and The Greater Good, and in this Twilight, especially the closer Zero Sum, I think that the noise is badly used in a way. And I don't like the electronic aspects of this album. I don't think this album is bad. I think it could have been something great. But at the same time I just get bored listening to this. At the same time asking myself why did they use this for? But yeah, I mean, we're gonna jump to Sweat because I think this is one of his favorite albums. So,
Oh, okay.
Sweat, what do you think of Year Zero? It's their worst so far, yeah.
Yeah, it's totally not their worst so far. In my ranking, I'd put it above The Fragile, second place. I really adore this album. I've heard that complaint before. The electronic stuff covers up the beauty. Like, Zero Sum is one people talk about a lot, and saying that like the electronic glitchy stuff kind of ruins it. I think the only quotation marks cringy song on this on this album is like capital G. Like the groove is, but I have memories with that track, and like that song is still so catchy to me. This is like, I'll just start from the beginning because like the way this record opens is insane. Hyperpower is such an amazing instrumental. And then it goes in the beginning of the end, which has this super catchy beat, and like the rhythms on this album are so infectious. I like each song is like based off of a rhythm and a drum loop that is I like it so much. I don't know what to say. Like the good like Warning like has that guitar loop that's just like so cool. And the other thing that's like great about this record is like the concept. I feel like it's their most fleshed out concept. Like the way it kind of links up with their new EP way. It's like all of these songs are like it was a reaction to Bush, I believe. Yeah. And
I think so, yeah.
And all of these songs are like biting. Like for someone who's popular for like fuck you like an animal, like you wouldn't think these political songs would be as captivating as they really are. Like in a lot, it's so great in a lot of ways. Like it was predicted a lot of what happened in the next century, in the next decade, in a lot of ways. And yeah, I feel like this is such like again, like how I was talking about how they're like all pop songs. This is like that. all of this music is so catchy. Like I know almost every hook to every song on this album. It's just like they're so good. Like My Violent Heart, when epic climax comes in for the chorus, it's just so captivating. And I gotta say, another version of The Truth is like on the level of A Warm Place for me. It kind of serves the same purpose in the sort of an album flow, because it comes after the most abrasive song, and it's like doing all, and the piano on this track is so beautiful. I love this song so much. And then like in this Twilight and Zero Sum, just end this album on such a contemplative and beautiful note that you really do not expect. It's such a journey from beginning to end. It's like it paints the picture of such a dystopian world really, really well, and the end of such a world. And like the virtual reality game, it kind of overshadowed it, but it showed a lot of the really cool concepts with this album. And I feel like a lot of people underrate this record.
I mean,
and I can I'm not saying that's bad. I can totally get it. Like when you hear God Given, people hate that song. I don't hate that song, but like I get it. I understand why people don't enjoy it, but for me it's an incredibly personal love to death.
okay, so I'll give this to you. I haven't.
Don't be afraid to like rip on it if you really just
there's no track that I feel. As I said, until track 9, I think it's good until The Warning, and then it goes to God Given. I don't think that track is bad. I just think it could have been something more. The same with the other tracks.
I love.
But I'll give this to you. I have not listened to this in more than a year. I'm gonna revisit their entire discography.
Me
so,
too.
For what I remember, the only song on here that I thought was super like great, my favorite, is Vessel. I love Vessel.
Sure, the dubstep one, that's really good. I love that. That one's great. I love the transition out of Good Soldier too.
And also, My Violent Heart. I like that one as well. But then I like half of Zero Sum, but not on its entirety, to put it away. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's bad really. So, Sue, what do you think of Year Zero?
Year Zero is very, very okay.
Oh, he got.
I don't know. I also haven't listened to this in like I don't know, like a year. So I don't remember much of what happened, but it was very okay.
It was very, very okay. That's how I summoned this album. It was just meh.
I want to come back to this because I want to come back to this because the people that do like it really fall in love with it. So I'm hoping that happens if I come back to it.
However,
but I don't want to come back to it because it's not.
However,
fun.
To me, this is not their worst studio album.
Oh no, I'm gonna have to defend.
Hell yeah, you're gonna have to.
Yo, what do you mean? Yo, I'm gonna join you on that one.
Okay, we'll get to that.
Okay, so Gabe, any last words for this?
Yeah, I haven't talked about Year Zero yet. I just kind of want to throw this in there. At the moment, just going off of the opinions off the top of my head, this is possibly my least favorite Nine Inch Nails studio album. Damn. I don't know if I can really, decide that right off the bat. I'm not going to say that that's like going on record. I'm just saying at the moment, from what I can think, right off the top of my head, I think this is my least favorite studio album. It has some great songs. Now you got to remember, I still think this album is great. I don't think Nine Inch Nails has any bad albums. I still think it's very solid.
I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
They have a bad remix, like a really shitty one.
That's a remix album, though.
I do want to say that some of this, I'll just list off 3 songs that I really love off this album. Hyperpower, the intro, is great.
Yes.
It's short, but it's great. It reminds me a lot of Pinion, actually. Survivalism is aggressive, and honestly, if I were to see them live, I would hope they play this song because this definitely seems like one of those live staples, and I think they do still play it live. I have never seen them live yet.
Oh, when they play Great Destroyer live, when I saw them, they extended it like 8 minutes and added like stuff. It was amazing.
God. My best friend saw them. I think they played Survivalism at his show. And then the other song that I actually love on this, don't know if this is an unpopular pick, but I actually really like Me, I'm Not.
Oh.
I love that song.
Yeah, that's actually a song
It's
that I
like
really
one of the
love.
more subdued tracks, but it's still really, really good.
Yeah.
So
Just, yeah, that's really all I gotta say about Year Zero, is that I think it's still a great album, but I think it might be my least favorite. If I were to think about it, that answer might change, but just as I stand right now, I think it might be my least favorite.
As I said, I need to revisit it. I need to, because either that, because I may be wrong. I ended up being wrong about a lot of things. I'm re-listening to Weezer right now, and it turns out I don't hate it as much as I think I did. In fact, I think I like their first 2 albums, but then it goes to shit. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I think I'll have a new view on it now that I will listen to it. But yeah, at the moment, also, I think it's their weakest. Yeah. But after this, they would release their worst release in any way, EP, remix, whatever the fuck. Year Zero remix, to me, it's a big pile of shit that just has nothing good to offer. It's 70 minutes long.
Okay, it is too long. I
It's
agree
too
with you
fucking
there.
long. I fucking...
Gunshots by Computer
Yeah,
is so
that's
good.
the only
though.
thing I like. And maybe there's a okay. So
I guess that the Me I'm Not remix is the one you would hate.
I was gonna say that 14 minutes long.
minutes?
I just hate that so much.
That's a really
Also,
good song.
the capital G remix, that's 7 minutes long. I fucking hate that so much. So much.
I think you could have. Well, it's like a reconstruction of the album. That's what it's trying to be.
Yeah, but it's in a shitty way. It's...
Why is Me, I'm Not for... Okay, I'm like just in shock at this. Why is this 14
You need to listen
minutes?
to this.
It's not as bad as you think it is.
Pretty
it's
bad.
pretty good.
It's
actually.
pretty bad. It's
No,
pretty
it's
bad.
not. It's not pretty bad.
I will.
It
I
just
will-
should be
I
8
will
minutes.
fight
Is what it should be.
To Flesh and Bone saying that it stretches out for too long. The production is...
Well, duh. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like this could have been. You could have cut. You could have cut at least 5
But
songs.
no.
off
The
here.
song stretches out for too long. It could have
Oh,
been something great,
yeah.
but the production on this track is just fucking horrendous. I despise it a lot. Fuck. You need to listen to this, Gabe. You need to listen to this for sure.
Oh god.
Uh,
Yeah, sometimes in the future I will.
Before
When
we
I
go
wanna
to Sweat defending this piece of crap that is badly produced, way
Wait,
too
wait.
long, and just
Wait,
what?
wait. What album are we
Year
doing?
Zero remixed.
Before it go...
I don't really have anything to say about this. You don't have to
Okay.
like.
I thought you were about to say the
No,
slip.
no,
Okay, no, we're good.
Okay,
Never mind.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Soup, have you listened to Year Zero remixed? Good.
No.
You better not. So
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a total waste
It's a-
of your time. There's some really remixes.
to me, it's a total waste of your time. Like,
Okay.
I don't know, 70 minutes, too long. It's too long. That's my main complaint. It's too long, and it just offers nothing. In fact, I think it makes the tracks worse. But yeah, I mean, after this annoying thing that they put out, they would take a break until 2008. Well, it's 1 year gap, but still,
It's their most active
yeah,
year. I
and they
think.
would release. Oh boy,
Or doing Ghosts or
Ghosts.
Slip. Oh, cool. I love Ghosts.
I put Ghosts at the same level as Year Zero.
Are
Okay.
you serious?
I need to re-listen to this because I really, this one I haven't listened ever since 2012 maybe. But I've listened to Ghosts 2 because a friend of mine was playing it. And I think it's pretty decent ambient, to be honest. It's just that's all I have to say, to be honest. What do you have to say, Sweat?
Oh, we're going to me again? Alright. So it's certainly self-indulgent, but being the first like introduction to a lot of these sounds for me, it pretty much launched my what I wanted to do with like it made me want to listen to and create electronic music. Basically. The portrait, it's like the album is like portraits of like each song I think was meant to be soundtracked to a certain image they saw or something like that. And I just feel like in terms of getting ready for the soundtrack work they would do in the future, I think this is a fantastic release in that. I absolutely love Trent's piano playing. Like that's one of my favorite things of his work is just his amazing way to like make that keyboard cry. It's just like One Ghost One and is really beautiful. There's a bunch of beautiful and kind of harsh and really interesting tracks on here, and it's like a great album to read to as well. I don't think it's one of the best ambient or like electronic albums ever made. Certainly not, but like it's one of the most unique ones. Because it's barely electronic, honestly. It's like very organic in a way that the Fragile kind of was. But like instrumental and like it's basically loops, but I find it really compelling. Especially Ghosts 3 and 4, which is I feel like is the best batch of tracks on here. And also it's significant because it made Trent Reznor get the most he is now credited on the most popular song on the Billboard charts ever now, I think, right?
I was actually going to make a joke about that, about how they use...
Old Town Road used the song on here.
34 Ghosts.
Yeah. 34 Ghosts is one of the best tracks on here, too. It's really
it's great.
Yeah. It's very hard to listen to now, unfortunately. I like Old Town Road, but, like, yeah.
I am not a fan personally, but you know whatever suits you best, my boy.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what I have to say about that album. I think it's good.
Yeah. So, Soup, what do you think of this?
I listened to this once, like 2 years ago, so I don't remember much, but it was really, really great soundscapes. You know, again, piano playing was very beautiful. I have nothing else to say because I listened to this 2 years ago.
Oh, so Gabe, what do you have to say about this album?
I think Ghosts is I think it's pretty great. I actually listened to this for the first time earlier this week in preparation for this podcast, and honestly, I really don't think that the length of this album is even an issue because honestly, it went by so quickly that I was kept pretty interested.
Yeah, each song is like different enough. Like
exactly. Yeah, I don't think there was any part of the album where I was really checking the time just to see if it was almost over. I honestly, it kind of just flew by me, and I was very impressed.
It may not be 12-year-old me, but I did.
I do think that One Ghosts is incredible. What are we going to call the tracks? Can we just call them the number and then Ghosts?
Yeah, number and then song. One Ghost.
Okay.
It's very hard for me to like. You hear One Ghost, and I don't know what song that is, but like, if you describe the way it sounds to me, I could probably recall it.
Yeah, I mean, it's very simple. It's not simple, but it's like.
It is quite simple, actually.
Yeah, okay, it's simple, but it's just like a really nice piano.
Yeah.
I think that's One Ghost. Yeah, there's so many tracks on this thing that kind of remembering all of them off the top of your head is really hard.
It's a blur, but like it's an interesting blur. It's not like forgettable.
Yeah, it's like the it's the really like it starts off with a low piano note. Like that. That's Ghost One. Yeah, it's just this whole album I think is really incredible, and I think it's a great lead-in to what stuff like Trent Reznor will be doing for his soundtrack work. Some of the ambient influences, even on the EPs, the 2010s EP trilogy, kind of you can see a bit of a formation of that here, and even on the upcoming studio albums that he has coming up. So
Oh,
Yeah.
so shit.
I think this is a pretty
we're gonna
solid
have
album.
some Reznor for breakfast, my boys. Hell yeah.
I'll try and wrap this up. I know we're so close to being done. We only have like 5 things left to cover, I think. But yeah, I just think Ghost is great. I can't really pick a favorite moment on here because there's just so much to sift through. I can't recall all of it off the top of my head. But I do think my favorite of the 4 is probably Ghost 1. I definitely think it's
Yeah, Ghost 1 and Ghost 4. I know I said
Yeah,
Ghost
Ghost
3. I was being I don't remember that one actually.
I think Ghost 1 and
Do you
Ghost
know the one on Ghost 2 where it has like the child crying noise? I really like that.
I think I know what you're talking about because I think that actually caught my attention too.
Yeah, that's like it's really sudden. A lot of the transitions here are quite sudden.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. These are definitely yeah. they definitely cut to the chase for a lot of these, so it's something I can admire. But yeah, I definitely think that Ghosts 1 and 4 are the high points, and I must say that 36 Ghosts is a great way to close off the album, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So yeah, Ghosts, it's great stuff.
I think it's great stuff. I think I need to re-listen to it. Knowing that all my experience with ambient now, I think I will appreciate it more. Like kind of an inverse way that happened to Sweat. Having more ambient stuff. And I honestly, now that I think about it, for what I can remember, a lot of what you do, Sweat, on Cosmeed has some influence from Ghosts. Literally.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But yeah, I mean, after this,
except not as well produced,
but still is great. After this, they would release The Slip.
I'm sorry. I was gonna note something about Ghosts is that, like, watch some of the live performances of these tracks. Like, they're amazing. Like, significantly better than the studio versions. Okay, that's all I want to say.
Thing. It wasn't actually Hesitation Marks, my least favorite album by Nine Inch Nails. It's actually The Slip.
Oh no. You get out,
it's
bro.
Mediocre.
Are you a Slip fan?
I am a Slip fan.
Right.
I think the transition from the first track to the second track, it's great. I can say that. But that's all the good things I can say of this. Maybe, what was the name of this track? Corona
Ratita.
I think that one is good in part.
I love it's structured like Low, the David Bowie album, kinda, where it's like the first side is like all the songs and then the second side is the ambient pieces.
In a way, yeah.
Not as good as Low, but it's a similar structure.
I have both albums at the same rating.
What, 5 stars?
3.5.
Well, you don't like Low?
Oh, I thought you said you. Oh.
You don't like Low?
I just think it's kind of, I don't know. Maybe I'm missing the point. I just don't really see why it's so popular.
Okay, what rating did you give to Station to Station?
I haven't heard Station to Station
because
yet.
if you give it a 3.5, I'm gonna. Yeah, exactly. What the fuck's wrong with you?
I don't really listen to much Bowie.
Me neither, but I'm not a big fan of him.
I can forgive Low because Low has a lot of problems, and I think the Slip shares in a weird way. The Slip shares many of its problems.
No way.
I know you guys very likely do not see this comparison, but I don't know.
I do not. Please, if you can
explain, where you're
coming
from.
It's really all that it is. It's just the first half is the regular tracks, and the second half is the ambient tracks.
Yeah,
I can see that.
I don't think it's really any deeper than that. It shares an album flow, and that's really all it is, basically. Pretty much.
But yeah, I can honestly see that. I can honestly see the first side being the songs, and the second side being the ambient. The side that I dislike the most are the songs. But yeah, I mean, I think this is their weakest release. I think it's mediocre. Not saying that it's bad. It's just something that doesn't catch my attention, to put it in. So yeah, that's all I have to say, really. Nothing much. It's just okay. It's just meh, as meh as an album can get, as I always say. But yeah, what do you think of it, Gabe?
So I know I made it out to seem like I said the slip was a masterpiece, which I don't think it is. I definitely think this is an album with its flaws and with its inconsistencies. Um, However, I do think that this is still a great album, just like just about every other album of theirs. I won't say it's great. I'll say it's solid. It's good but solid. I'll say that much. It's solid. Okay. Um, I did mention last time that Ghosts kind of sets up the ambient explorations that Trent Reznor will be taking with the future albums for Nine Inch Nails, and I think that this is definitely an example of that. I don't think it's at the forefront by any means, but I do think there's a pretty good exploration of it, at least across this album. I wouldn't say it's all compiled in one spot. It's just kind of spread throughout a little bit. I do think that songs like 900, whatever, 99, 999, I think that's a great opener. Sorry, that was my phone. 1 Million, I do love a lot. I actually really like The Four of Us Are Dying. That's a song that I really like. I haven't listened to this album in, God, I want to say 2 years maybe. It's going to be worth a re-listen for me. So these thoughts are definitely a little bit outdated. From what I do remember of it, I do think that it's a pretty, it's solid work. You know, I don't see much wrong with it, but I do think that it's definitely marking a pretty noticeable. I don't know what the word is. I shouldn't say it's a decline, because it's not really a decline. It's just a shift, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. It's a pretty noticeable shift, and I don't know if it's
shift or a bad shift.
If it works to its. Well, that's the thing, is I don't really know if it works to its full potential here.
Even though I believe the thing going into it is that it was gonna be like it was trying to, because what he had done previously is he had like worked endlessly over the albums, and I feel like what he did here, what I think he said he was gonna just make this in a month or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was the goal behind the slip, I think. Was just to make a bunch of songs quickly and like spontaneous energy.
Mm-hmm.
Which you can tell,
that, yeah.
I guess, but yeah.
You can see that in a way. But also not really. I mean, I don't think that justifies it that much.
It's not lazy. It's spontaneous was the thing it's going for. Like, these songs aren't unfinished.
Yeah.
Like, there's yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I Soup, have you listened to this?
This is a big nothing of an album. I don't remember any part of this album. I listened to it this morning. It was the first one I listened to. Nothing stuck to me.
Really?
It's just really disappointing to think about.
Oh, why? I wonder why. It's
just
really
like
boring.
I appreciate that it's like offering this wide variety of sounds, you know, all these aspects of you know, their sound of Reznor sound, but the Fragile does that, and it's so much better.
In a way, yeah.
I just don't know like why this exists.
Me neither. You're not alone in this. I think basically the same as Soup here, because I think this could have been more, but it wasn't. It's just too boring for me, and I'm tired of saying that. But it
has good ideas.
It has good ideas,
but this is nothing there.
Yeah, basically. So
it's like whenever I think about it, I'm just disappointed.
Basically, me too. Just big disappointed. So what do you think of this? No, sorry. Sweat, do you have any words?
I'm not gonna defend this album to the death like I did for years and Ghosts, really, but like, I definitely probably like it the most out of everybody here. Which is, that was typical. But I'd say if you take it alone as like, if this album was just songs, I probably wouldn't think it was as special. Because the songs on here, like Letting You is just not. The hook on there is not of very high quality. Discipline is okay. And all the other songs I'm a big fan of. I really, really like Head Down. But the thing is that there's a live video that's like an in-studio recording and like of the first, basically the entirety of the first half of the record. And all of the songs are significantly better. I'd really recommend it. I think it's just called The Slip Live. It's on YouTube. And like you can see and it's like, this era is also kind of one of their best live things because they had the most new material to show and they just did a lot of really, really cool stuff. But yeah, I think the second side is better, but I like both sides pretty much. It's one of the albums that it might be their worst. I don't know. I can't really say. I don't really like to think of it like that because like all of the albums they've made I listen to frequently. But like, yeah, I can still put this on and it's like a fair experience every time. I really like the way it ends. Lights in the Sky is beautiful. Corona Redidi.
I think it's
that song's
Radiata
good.
or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Four of Us Are Dying is an amazing beat, and then Demon Seed is a fair enough closer. I think it's a pretty great album, but I'm not gonna begrudge anybody who thinks it's just boring.
That's fair.
That's all I have to say.
I just think it could have been more. But it wasn't. It's just...
I don't know. I like it the way it is, really. I don't really think it could have been... I guess maybe if it was more fleshed out, but I don't know. I kind of like it the way it already has been. That's just me, though.
Hell yeah. I don't think there's much more to add. After this, they would release another... they were...
Well, they
yeah.
broke up, I'm pretty
And then
sure.
on
He quit
2013,
Nine Inch Nails.
They would release their comeback, basically. Which is straight up an electro-industrial album. Hesitation Marks. Which I think it's okay. It's definitely better than The Slip. It has some cool songs, like Various Methods of Escape. And All Time Low, I like that one. Yeah.
All Time Low is great.
But after that, it's another one of those records that is just I don't really have much to say about this. Like after this, I do have to say some things about the EPs, but from this album, I don't have a lot of things to say. What do you guys think about this?
I love
You
it.
love Hesitation?
No, okay.
I think it's pretty great. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
see the hate. I don't
honestly,
get the hate.
this album. Am I okay to start
Yeah.
with it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This album is amazing. Like, people really dislike this one. I think it's like, I see it a lot on the bottom of most people's opinions on this band. Like, if they get to it, they're like, oh my god, they're just not, they're shadow of their former selves, all that stuff. It's like, I don't really, like, every album, like, does something different. I think this is one of their most different albums. It's their most subdued. I think it's like, it's going back to a lot of the sounds of Pretty Hate Machine.
In a way, yeah.
But, like, updated with, like, all of the score stuff he's doing.
Yeah, I can see that,
And
honestly.
I think, again, in terms of being I think this is one of his strongest moments as, like, a pop artist. Like, these songs have, like, really catchy stuff that goes on. Like, Copy of a is an amazing song. Like, the way that opens after Eater of Dreams, that's just, like, and all the instrumentation adds to it. It's just, like, the perfect way you could have introduced this record. Came Back Haunted's really good. And then you go into, like, Find My Way, which is one of the most beautiful songs he'd make, in, like, in a weird way. But, like, yeah, it's still, like, super pretty. I really like how all of these songs kind of evolve in a way. Like at least like when the longer tracks, like they really justify their length a lot of the time. It's really there's a lot of cool sections and a lot of cool build-ups. Like I'd say that illustrate this, like Disappointed. The second half of that song with the dance beat, it's like a really cool beat, and it's like all of these glitchy sounds kind of coming together, and it gets like to the climax with the guitar. And I think this and Blue is on this album again, I think. Yeah, he plays guitar in this, and like you can tell, it's kind of like a harkening back to the flow of Downward Spiral again.
In a way, yeah.
Like it's got the 14 tracks, and like it has the same progression, and like the only reason, like the only thing I feel like sucks on this album, like it might everything could be their worst song.
Oh, come on.
I don't know. Okay.
Everybody
I don't know.
hates that song. Why?
I don't know. Okay. I don't hate it. I was overstating. It's good. It just should not be on this album.
That's fair.
It is like a pop punk rager inside. It does not fit, especially in between Disappointed and Satellite. I don't usually skip tracks on albums, but this one is just filler. Not even filler. It's like a single. Like it's like when you have a single for an album and the single is completely different from the album. But like, yeah, I think it's a good song, but like it should have just stayed a single. I don't think it should be on this album. But other than that, I love the ending. I love I Would. It's one of their more like Fragile-esque tracks. I think it calls back to that a lot. And the way this ends with While I'm Still Here in Black Noise is amazing. I love the ending of this project. It's like the way it glitches out. I think that's one of the coolest moments of like phase 2 of Nine Inch Nails. And I love the live version of this album, which I think is also on YouTube, but I think it got taken down. Which they played every song from this album live.
Fucking algorithm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Except Everything, which is just like, and it's like a full continuous video. I don't know if it's still there, but I really, really like it. And I think, and the light show from this era of the band, I don't know if you guys have, but it's amazing. Like, look up some of the live videos from 2013. It's like, the stuff they did with the stage is like insane.
I'll have to look some of those up
as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it could have been more. I just think it's okay. It has some cool ideas. I don't dislike it. And I honestly put it above Year Zero, to be honest.
So do I.
But
I would not put it above Year Zero. I put it close to Year Zero. I think it's one of their better albums, I'd say. One of the ones I like to listen to the most frequently. I like it more than With Teeth and Pretty Hate Machine. I'll say that much.
Damn. Well,
Wow.
After this, Soup, do you have anything to say about this album? Have you heard of this?
Those are my thoughts.
I agree.
Yeah, this is a very. Again, it's just kind of a nothing of an album for me. I mean, I like that it's like taking this new direction, but it doesn't work. There are like some cool songs in the second half. Various Methods of Escape. That's it. And I don't like talking about this area. This is just doo-doo. Yeah.
But
Wait, hang on. I just want to bring that back. I'm
just
sorry.
sum up your thoughts, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Gabe, what do you think of this? Any last words?
Yeah, I just kind of want to say that I don't really understand the hate for this album. I mean, I think that I can appreciate what Trent is doing in this taking in this new direction. I think "Came Back Haunted" is actually a great song, And Everything, I really like Everything. Okay, I don't care. I think that's a great song.
That's fair. I
Various
mean,
methods
it
of
has
escape.
like one really cool part.
Various Methods of Escape is great, and I think Into is also another great song. So, besides that, though,
I don't hate this area. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Sub. What?
okay, I don't hate this era. It's just kind of very boring. It's
That's
kind
fair.
of its biggest. Yeah.
This album is definitely one of the more. I think as much as I
It's
can.
the one of the least going on in terms of the.
Yeah, that's. I was gonna say it's kind of bloated. It's definitely one of the most bloated albums because I'm not gonna lie. For all the songs that I like, there were definitely a couple where I was checking the runtime because it was just. Because it's not
cut
bad.
down
I think
it was cut down to like 40 minutes. Okay, I'm sorry to keep cutting you off.
It's
but,
okay.
If it was cut down to 40 minutes, it would be like I would like it much more. It's definitely like the length is probably one of the biggest.
It's definitely a little bit too long.
instruments.
Definitely a bit too long. It could definitely deal with some trimming, but otherwise, I think it's just. I mean, it's a good album. That's really all I gotta say about it. It's not a masterpiece. It's not one of their best albums by any means. I just think it's good, and I like the direction that Trent was starting to go on this album.
It
is an album that was made at some point. Hell yeah. I honestly, I agree with Soup here. Basically nothing, but at the same time, it could have been something. I don't dislike this era. I just think it's kind of boring, but it's better than what they were doing in some of her early projects. But yeah. So after this, they would release. We're getting closer to the end, man. I'm gonna ask you: have you guys listened to Recoiled?
I have. I've
listened
listened to it.
I have listened to a bit of it, but I can comment on it. I would like to comment on it a bit. Coil era of Nine Inch Nails remixes, they were the best to ever remix their stuff. Except for like, there were some amazing Hesitation Marks remixes. Like one of Trix Point Never's version of Find My Way is incredible. And there's like a Genesis remix, again, rest in peace, of While I'm Still Here, which is also really good. But yeah, the Coil era of remixing stuff, like they made the best Nine Inch Nails remix of all time. And this one is just like some of the darkest stuff they would ever do with the material. Like this project, it is hard to sit through in like a way that a lot of Coil releases aren't. And I think if I gave it more shots, I would like it even more. Because it's really fucked up.
I have not listened to this. The Recoiled? Come on.
You haven't listened to it at all?
I don't have it rated.
Damn.
Because I haven't listened to it. So, have you listened to this? There's no answer. Have you listened to Recoiled?
No, I'm looking for more cartoon sound effects.
But Gabe, what can you tell us about Recoiled?
So I'm just gonna say this right now. I think Recoiled is pretty boring. I think the first. Let me hold on. I wrote it down.
I've only heard the first two songs. I'm just commenting on Coil's like stuff in general.
I had this in my listening logs. Let me see. Yeah. Okay. So I said the first two tracks are pretty great. So Gave Up, Open My Eyes, and Closer Unrecalled. I think those are some great remixes. But after that, it gets so.
How long is it?
It's 38 minutes and it's 5 tracks.
And it gets long?
The shortest song is 5.5 minutes.
How many tracks are?
Well, it's Coil. They don't really ever. They're not.
Yeah. The 2 Eraser remixes that go on for 9 minutes each are really unnecessary and really boring. And the Downward Spiral of Gilded Sickness is exactly 8 minutes and is possibly. You know what? I can't even comment on it because I don't remember it. This is probably the most forgettable release that's been put under the Nine Inch Nails name that I've heard so far. It's not terrible, but it's also not great either, and by far is the worst remix release I've heard from them at the moment.
Oh damn.
It's interesting. I'm pretty sure it was like a B-side thing. Like I think it was just.
I don't even
Recoiled.
think it has that many ratings.
This was a release that was.
I don't even.
It came out through Kickstarter. This was put together through Kickstarter because Danny Hyde had he was sitting on the recordings, and they weren't released. And then someone compiled some of them into a bootleg, and then they eventually released the rest of them. I
think that's a similar thing with the album, the Coil album, that was going to be on Nine Inch Nails' label. Pretty sure, because that never got released, and that I don't think it was a Kickstarter, but I think it eventually got released. I think it's called Backwards.
I was gonna say, is it Backwards? Because that came out a few years ago. Yeah.
I don't know if they came around the same time. It would make sense if they did.
Yeah, it did. Recoiled came out in 2014, and Backwards came out in 2015.
So
after that makes sense. Backwards is pretty.
After that, they would release not the actual events on 2016.
Are we talking about each EP individually, or like of the trilogy?
So we're gonna talk about the last three things, not the actual events, Add Violence and Bad Witch. Yeah.
Okay.
Those are the last three things that we're gonna tackle.
All right.
Hopefully, this is where people get. I've seen these EPs where people got back into the band, so hopefully that's what happens here, because it's not been looking good for our for you guys' opinions on
not the actual events. I think it's boring.
Okay.
I like the cover though. The cover is pretty dope. I really do like it. But the only song I like it's pretty fucking short. It's 21 minutes. I like the idea of you. That's the song that I like from here, but after that, I don't like it.
That's good. That's a good song.
So, what do you guys think of this?
Who do you want to start with?
Sweat, what do you think of this?
Okay. I'd say this is my least favorite EP from all of them. It's like the harshest thing they've released since the 90s. But Branch's Bone, that everybody talks about how great that track is. It's amazing. Studio version is really, really quiet, and I don't know why. Other than that, I think it's a pretty great release. Like, I don't know. It's kind of forgettable. She's Gone Away is okay. Dear World has some really cool ideas. And the last two tracks, Burning Bright and Idea of You, are amazing. But other than that, I don't know. It's kind of a forgettable release. The next two EP, I think it's good if you're listening in sequence. Like, this going into the rest of the EPs is really, really. But yeah, other than that, not particularly impressed by this collection of tracks.
Yeah, me neither. So what do you think? Like, literally, it's just, I agree, it's just too boring. So what do you think? He's looking for sound effects.
Okay. No, I'm not looking for the sound effect. I gave up. But again, it is probably one of the most like aggressive sounds they pulled since the 90s material. But personally, it just doesn't do a lot new with the sound. You know, again, probably like my least favorite of the three for sure. It's fine, just nothing incredible. And to like start this trilogy, it's just kind of.
Yeah, I honestly describe it the same way. It's fine, nothing incredible. It's just, yeah,
it's there.
I think Burning Bright is really, really. But other than that, yeah.
What do you think of this, Gabe?
I literally agree with all of them. This is the weakest of the EPs for me, and it's never been one of my favorites of theirs. I mean, it's solid, you know, but it's not that incredible.
Glad we're on the same page.
Glad we're on the same page.
I do really like She's Gone Away. That's a pretty good song, and Dear World is nice too, and Branches and Bones I like a lot too. But I don't know, it never really seemed that cohesive to me, and they work better as individual songs, not so much
Yeah.
as an EP for me. I know it's only 21 minutes, but it's just I'm never really too interested when I actually listen to this EP. You know,
I only listen to it when I don't listen to it on its own.
only if it's in sequence with the others.
Yeah, because
That's
it does. I give it to him. It does really does work in sequence.
I should try that. I haven't
Like-
listened to all the EPs in a row before.
Yeah.
So after this, they would release the EP. I remember it was 2017. Everyone went crazy for this shit. Everyone went crazy for this fucking shit. Add Violence.
They did.
Violence. Everyone went crazy for this. Everyone lost their shit. They said, "Oh, this is the." I think it's okay. I think it's okay. I think it's
Damn.
just fine. It's fine. It's just fine. I like the background world, and this isn't the place. But after that, it's just fine. It's just fine. It's okay. It's nothing bad. It's nothing good. It's just fine. That's all I can say. It's nothing that blow my fucking mind. It's not the revival of Nine Inch Nails.
It
Go ahead, Sweat.
Hmm.
Say.
I think judging by this one, this where everybody start turning around here against you, against
Why?
your opinions here. Because I feel like I don't know. This is one of their best. Like
It's pretty great, yeah.
you like in the same way as not the actual events, the tracks do not. It's weird. It follows a very very similar structure. Like Less Than is the catchy track that opens it, but Less Than is great. Like honestly, that's one of their best like single led songs. Like to open the EP and coming after stuff, I think it's very impressive and I like it a lot. Lovers is really creepy and it has like this really nice sound effect. And This Isn't the Place is amazing. One of their most beautiful
Yes.
songs. Like the way that song evolves, and I got to see it live, which was really
So
great.
here's the thing. I said it's just fine. I never said it was bad. I never said it was good. But it's nothing mind blowing. I like This Isn't the Place. I do think it's a great song.
I think the standout tracks here, like the only one on is Not Anymore, but even that, like it's a very unique song. I think The Background World is the best song they've released since maybe one of the songs on Year Zero. I don't know. It's like top 10 for me. It's
so good. It's amazing.
Like the way the static comes in. This was like the first taste of noise music I'd ever gotten.
Same.
And like the presentation, I have the impact for the first 3 EPs they released like little booklets that came with this. There's a little booklet that came with that Violence that was amazing. Like the concept of the EPs, no one particularly talks too much, but it's like it's similar to Year Zero. It's like an update on that. There's a lot of simulation talk and stuff like that, and it's very kind of like a sci-fi thing. I think like Background World going in with that theme and the glitchiness, it's like the loop is like breaking and it's just so amazing. Like I don't know, I love this song. It helps that like the first 4 minutes is beautiful too. Like
I mean,
but yeah, and it transitions into Bad Witch really well as well. That's all I have to say about it.
I need to listen to the 3 on the same like at the same time, basically.
I think it really adds to the experience.
Soup, what do you think of this? Please bug me up. Oh, okay.
No. I really like this. Again, it kind of. Can I talk about? Can I exist?
Go ahead.
But yeah, again, it's kind of like it isn't treading much of the same, like treading much new ground, and it's kind of like, yeah, yeah, it's not as in like, you know.
Yeah. Fuck. I thought you would back me up on this one.
Okay.
Fucking damn it.
No, No, I really do like it. Okay, I'm gonna try and actually word this properly. Um, Again, it just like the not the actual events. It's not trying to tread new ground, but I think the sound here, like what they're taking from the past, like these sounds from the past. I think they are doing like some really cool new things to it. Um, and adding like new catchy shit to it. The closer, just it's like repeating loop, just slowly devolving into noise. That shit's awesome. Uh, it's not like one of my favorites, but as part of this trilogy, it's a really great piece. Probably my favorite. I need to listen to Bad Witch.
You haven't listened to it?
I need to listen to it like a second. No, I have listened to it. Just like listen to it like another time. Yeah, you listen.
You mean like in sequence?
No, just like listen to it again.
Oh yeah.
So I've listened to all of these like just once, I think.
Okay, so Gabe, what do you think?
I think this is a great EP, and this is definitely. I don't know why you don't like this.
It's not that I don't like.
I was there
when
it got
these released as well, and I was like,
I may or may not have had a leak. I managed to hear it a few days before because I was in a Nine Inch Nails Discord server and everyone went crazy over this when it came out. I personally think this is the biggest at the time, the biggest like refinery. I don't know what the word is. Of the
it was this combined with not the actual events as well. Like this brought out. I was there. This was the only stuff I was like the EPs. Like, and this a lot of people got back into the band with these releases. It seemed like.
Yeah. I think this
was really cool to see.
Sorry. I think this is probably where the electro-industrial style really starts to reach a really amazing peak for Nine Inch Nails. I think just about every song on here is fantastic. I especially love Less Than and The Background World, as we've already discussed. Both of those tracks are just fantastic, and The Background World was actually my first experience with noise music of any kind. So that was certainly a weird experience, and for a while I didn't actually like it, but then I'm realizing now that I have more of an appreciation for noise music. I think it's fantastic, and it's just how it kind of continues on for so long and just kind of lets you lose yourself in it is what makes it so amazing.
It's not particularly like a noise piece. It's more of like bass boosting kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
It's just, but like it the way it loops is really.
Yeah. It's like a drone kind of thing.
It wouldn't work if the song it's built off wasn't that amazing. But like, yeah, you just take the first 4 minutes and isolate that, you have an amazing song over it.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about Add Violence. I think it's a great EP, and yeah, it's. I don't understand why you don't like you're not super fond of it. Cringe.
It's okay. It's just
I get
okay.
it.
I understand.
It's just okay. It's not mind blowing. Nothing that broke new ground, to put it in a way. It's just a.
Yeah, again, it's not really treading new ground. Not the actual event. It's kind of along that same line.
I wasn't on a Discord server, but I was on music chats on WhatsApp with my friends, and everyone was losing their shit, literally losing their fucking shit for this EP. But goddamn, it's when I listened to it, I went out with the hype, the hype, because my friend sent me This Isn't the Place, and I liked it a lot. And I was listening to the album, and I was like, okay, Less Than and The Lovers are fine. They're just fine for me. I like The Background World because I always had an appreciation for noise. I listened to the when I was 12, so I always had an appreciation for noise. And yeah, I liked it. I like what he did, but he wasn't breaking new ground. He wasn't giving new life to Nine Inch Nails. That's all I have to say.
I feel like he was with these EPs. Honestly, not the actual so much.
I think he did with the next one that I like. That one is my favorite. That one is my favorite.
Yeah, but like I feel like with Add Violence at least, maybe not the. There is a lot of new ground being. Like these are the most experimental he's been in like so long.
Okay, so the next one I actually do like, released in 2018. This one I really go crazy over with. Bad Witch. I think this is
Oh,
the
yeah.
most criminally underrated Nine Inch Nails album. When it came out, until now, it's underrated as fuck. The jazz elements on this album are so fucking great. I adore I'm Not From This World and Over and Out.
Yes, Over and Out is so good.
Also, the song that kicks out this album, Shit Mirror, is just so good. So I love this album. I honestly, this felt like the revival of Nine Inch Nails, and I'm honestly excited to see what they will come up like in the future, because
A new album, yeah.
because they brought us this. I like this one a lot. Oh god, Play the Goddamn Part is just so fucking great. This album is great. The only thing I dislike from this is that Head for Ourselves and God Break Down the Door feel kind of underwhelming in a way. But after that, I love all this album. I and not to say they're bad. I like them, but not as much as I like the other tracks.
That's fair. Ahead of Ourselves is the one part that's like a really cringy weird. I hate using fucking adjective. I gotta get that out of my vocabulary.
I'm not gonna say this, but I'm gonna say this. Trent Reznor on saxophone is actually pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie. He like.
I think it was the first instrument he ever played. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's obviously inspired, but okay, I'll stop. Yeah. To talk about it, it's obviously inspired by Black Star, through and through. Like.
Oh yeah.
Because like that, a lot of people had that comparison, but like, yeah, I'm pretty sure like Bowie has been influential for pretty much all of his works. Like you can tell on almost everything, but like this one, it's like it takes a lot of the elements of a Black Star and kind of like adds. It's like Nine Inch Nails' take on that kind of sound, and I think it's so good. I agree, it's the best of the trilogy. I don't think I'd say by far. Maybe by far. It's not like a hard choice for me, but it's amazing. Like Shit Mirror, Ahead of Ourselves, like it just flows so damn well. If this was an EP, I might put it above Broken. Like I'd probably put it above Broken anyway.
Yeah.
I love this.
I honestly put it above Broken as well. I like this a lot. I honestly think it's really underrated, to be completely honest.
They're incredibly different. I'd say the closest thing he's made to Broken is not the actual, like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about it, Gabe?
So Bad Witch, in my opinion, is Nine Inch Nails' best album since The Fragile.
I agree with that a lot.
I really am. When this first came out, and I'm willing to go back to that spot again, I thought this was a full-on masterpiece. This is their most fully realized effort in years, and I'm so happy that they were able to make an album so incredible this late into their career. I love just about every song on here. I can't think of one that I even have much bad to say about. You mentioned the Black Star influence. Something that I kind of realized when I first listened to this, I thought the vocals were inspired by Bowie, actually. Trent's vocal style on this album was actually kind of inspired by Bowie.
The vocals, kind of like the jazzy drums, mostly on God Break Down the Door, is like the most
God
Bowie.
Break Down the Door. Yeah. I also thought
He's
that
a different vocal style for like that song and Over and Out.
Yeah, exactly. Over and Out. I was gonna say he sounds a lot like Bowie on Over and Out to me. I also want to say I think this EP was also, or this album, sorry, technically it's an album. I really feel this was inspired by the band's work on Twin Peaks: The Return. I really get a strangely lynching vibe from this album.
I was gonna say that.
I don't really know. Okay, good, because I'm not alone in that. I really feel there's a huge Lynch vibe here, like Black Lodge kind of music.
I was gonna say that I can see that because they started like like starting relationships with Lynch in a way, and you can see that
Mhm.
here. There's a big influence from the Twin Peaks OST in this fucking shit, and you can.
I was gonna say that, yeah, because I mean, like all the use of jazz here really just reminds me of the Twin Peaks soundtrack. It's just an incredible album, and I currently only have it at a 4 out of 5 on RYM, but I'd totally be willing to bump
I
that to a
have it at a
4.5 in the
4.5
future if
as
I
well.
re-listen to it, because it is so
It is
amazing.
really
I
underappreciated,
genuinely,
to be honest.
yeah,
You
it
know,
really is.
I know
Ugh.
I'm glad we all like it again. That's nice to
I know,
feel. You know?
Yeah, we're
yeah.
ending off with something we can all
I am
kind of
honestly
agree
excited
on.
to
Yeah.
see the.
This album fucking sucks.
Sup, what do you think of this album? What do you think
Okay,
of this
contrarian.
album, Sup?
No, this is really good. Just I turned my mouse off. Fuck. Okay. Yeah. Again, I can definitely see the Black Star influence. Really great inclusion of like these jazz elements. Yeah, it's good. I only listened to this once like a few months ago, and I liked it then. I really need to come back to it.
I remember that when this came out, I was pissed at the Fantano review, and I know that's a stupid thing to say because I cared about Fantano before, but now it's just like it's like I
We were so close. We were 4 hours in, and we hadn't mentioned his name.
I mean I honestly don't know what Fantano's what
I'm just
Fantano's
joking, I'm
takes
just joking.
on Nine Inch Nails are, but I do know that his review of Bad Witch was all over the place, and that kind of made me like lift a brow, like going why the fuck are you gonna talk about this if you're saying that you don't have okay, and it's most.
I feel like, who really cares? That's kind of rude to say, but like, it's just like, there was a time where I really cared what he thought, and just like, that was a waste of a lot of my energy.
Me too.
But yeah, I get what you're saying.
I mean, Fantano is a person that retracts himself a lot, and it's funny at this point. I remember that when I saw his Plastic Beach review back in 2012, he gave it a 6, and suddenly it's on his top 500 albums of the decade, and okay, sure, why not? But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for the future of Nine Inch Nails. I can honestly say it was one of my favorite bands. It kind of still is, but not in a way. Right now, I have more of an appreciation for them. But yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty damn great, and I think they deserve all the love they get. Honestly, honest to God.
Yeah, if it wasn't clear for my obsessive love for every single album, they are my favorite band. So I don't think they've had a misstep in their entire career, and that's just not. I can't say that for any other.
Me too.
I know a lot of people aren't fans of the other stuff and like that. That's boring. I get it. I don't know. A lot of this music had a lot of personal connection with me, so I could probably chalk it up to that. But I don't know. I love every side of their career, and I can come back to every side and just like find something new within each album that I didn't see before, and all of the sounds are different. It's just great. I don't know. I think Trent's the genius, and he like made me get into music, so I can't thank him enough for that.
I mean, I appreciate a lot, like Trent Reznor a lot, because thanks to him, I got introduced to a lot of things. Thanks to the first exploration of the Nine Inch Nails discography, there's a page where I honestly only bought a few albums on my life from independent artists. Never bought an official album. I mean, when I had my phone, my new iPhone, fucking the new U2 album came free with it, and I was like, okay, but I honestly, the only official album that I ever bought was Bad Witch, because I really have a big appreciation for Reznor in general. Honestly, I think he is one of the most respectable figures in music at the moment, and honestly, I don't know. I don't know any other band that sounds or even is close to what Nine Inch Nails is at the moment. That's what I have to say, honestly. And any last words, guys?
I gave my piece.
I just want to say that Nine Inch Nails is one of my favorite bands ever, and you got to listen to them if you never listened to them.
Please do. Like it's one of the hard recommendations I can give to anyone, really, because they're just that good of a band. They're that good of a band. They're Trent Reznor is that good of an artist, honestly. He even though that he may have some missteps, as you saw on this podcast, uh, people find things on his discography that I may not find, and that's great. That's what artists do, and I honestly think Trent Reznor is one of the best that still, and I'm honestly interested to see where he goes. And yeah, Soup, any last words you would like to give? Hell yeah! But yeah, I mean,
Okay.
this has been the new episode of Music Buddies. It's almost 4 hours long.
We can make it. We can make it there if
Of
you really
course,
want.
I have a good place.
We could talk about the deviations if you want to get to 4
Sure
hours.
as fuck.
Oh God.
First of all, I want to
No,
say,
no,
I want to
it's fine,
say,
it's fine.
next episode is gonna be Godspeed You Black Emperor, and I think it's gonna be Soup, Hurley, and me.
I might join. I've heard every album.
I haven't heard everything, but I'm willing to finish the studio
And thanks to the
discography.
quarantine, I shouldn't say things. We have the possibility to record this shit. So yeah, tune in next time if you want. Take care, wash your hands, and listen to Nine Inch Nails. Honestly, yeah. This has been Music Buddies. Your host, Idiot Who Likes Prog. Our beautiful friend Gabe here.
Thank you.
Honestly, we have Soup here, the sound effects guy. After that, we have Sweatshop, who I honestly recommend. He has released a collaboration that is one of my favorite releases of this year, the Katzenklavier and Cosmid collab. I honestly recommend it a lot. It's good dark ambient. Yeah, I mean, respect Nine Inch Nails and listen to more music. Tune in next time for Music Bodies if you're still listening at this point, and I'm sorry for the length, but this is a really good band, and it deserves the time, honestly. So thank you guys, and take care, and have a good night. See you next time.